In 1945, a teenage photographer sold a single picture to Look magazine for $25. Within 24 months, that same photographer had leveraged this into a full-time position, using a scheme so audacious it would later inspire his psychological thrillers. That photographer was Stanley Kubrick, and his first production wasn't a film. It was an elaborate con, so they say. The Teenage Hustler. Stanley Kubrick didn't waltz into Hollywood. He hustled his way in. At 17, he landed a job at Look magazine, snapping photos of New York street life. The shots were good, gritty, real, full of emotion. But talent alone wouldn't be enough to make it in a world controlled by gatekeepers. Kubrick had a different edge. He wasn't just an observer, he was a collector. While working at Look, he gained access to celebrities, socialites, and high-ranking officials. Some smiled for the camera. Others didn't know they were being watched. His work in the late 1940s led him into exclusive rooms, high-profile events, and private gatherings where reputations were made and destroyed. Photographers were often dismissed as background noise. That made them dangerous. They saw what wasn't meant to be seen. Kubrick's talent for photography was undeniable. His shots of a young Frank Sinatra, the tense expressions of city gamblers, and the raw intensity of boxing matches stood out. But the real power wasn't in what Look published. It was in what didn't make it to print. Kubrick had a habit of holding on to negatives. Some believe his personal archive grew larger than what the magazine ever used. The industry protected its stars. Scandals were scrubbed from the papers, affairs were covered up, and bad behavior disappeared with the right connections. But photographers? They could be a liability. Most played by the rules, selling images to magazines or letting the editors decide what ran. Kubrick, however, had a mind for strategy. He wasn't selling pictures, he was gathering leverage. At just 18, he had already figured out that Hollywood, like politics, wasn't just about talent. It was about control, and a well-timed photo could make or break someone's career. By the time he left Look in the early 1950s, he wasn't just a photographer anymore. He was someone with access, someone who had been in the right places at the right time, someone who had, perhaps, seen things that people would rather forget. Stanley wasn't content being just another guy with a camera. He wanted in, and in a city where secrets held more power than money, he might have found his golden ticket. Capturing scandals, collecting leverage. New York in the late 40s and early 50s was a city of excess, and the people at the top operated under the illusion of privacy. The elite gathered at places like the Stork Club and El Morocco, where champagne never stopped flowing, and business was handled with a handshake and a whisper. Politicians sat in dark booths with women who weren't their wives. Gangsters mingled with Wall Street power players. Movie stars slipped out back doors hoping no one saw who they left with. Most people in these circles were careful, but after a few drinks, caution disappeared, and standing nearby, camera in hand, was a young photographer named Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick wasn't interested in the staged, polished shots that editors loved. His eye was drawn to the real, unguarded moments, the ones that could change a career overnight. Look magazine paid him to document New York nightlife, but some believed his real collection never made it to print. His photos captured more than glamour. They showed power shifting in real time. Back then, Hollywood and the press had an understanding. Studios controlled the stars, and gossip columnists like Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons played their part in protecting them. If a scandal threatened to break the right amount of money, or the right favor, could make it disappear. But what happened when the scandal couldn't be buried? Rumors swirled that Kubrick was sitting on photos that could upend marriages, derail political campaigns, and ruin Hollywood careers. Most photographers sold their work to the tabloids or handed everything over to their editors. Kubrick? He was different. He kept his negatives, his proofs, his contacts. At the time, he was still an outsider, just another name in a sea of ambitious young artists trying to make it. But there was a shift happening. His work wasn't just about capturing moments. It was about knowing things, knowing the right things about the right people at the right time. Mystery behind his first film. Breaking into Hollywood without connections was nearly impossible. Studios had their chosen directors. Producers took chances only on people they knew. Young outsiders didn't get feature films unless they had serious backing. Yet somehow Stanley Kubrick pulled it off. His first film, Fear and Desire, 1953, was independently financed. Officially, the money came from family and friends. His father, Jacques Kubrick, reportedly helped, along with a few other private investors. But film financing wasn't casual lending. It was expensive, complicated, and filled with gatekeepers. The production budget was estimated at $53,000, around $600,000 today. For a first-time filmmaker with no track record, that was a huge sum. Even stranger? Kubrick, barely out of his teenage years, managed to assemble a full cast, crew, and equipment without studio interference. Fear and Desire didn't make a splash. It played at a few festivals, got mixed reviews, and disappeared. But it served its purpose. It put Kubrick's name in front of the right people. He was suddenly a real filmmaker. Industry insiders started paying attention. 2 years later, he made Killer's Kiss, 1955, a noir crime thriller. This time, the budget doubled. More resources, bigger names. United Artists even stepped in to distribute it. A major leap, but how? Kubrick didn't have the typical story of a struggling artist. He never worked as a studio assistant, never spent years pitching scripts, never followed Hollywood's usual path. He skipped the line. Back in New York, he had spent years in rooms where people let their guard down. As a photographer, he captured the private moments of politicians, actors, and high society elites. Some believed those years paid off in ways beyond just artistic skill. Hollywood was a place where favors mattered, where debts weren't always paid in cash. The right leverage could open doors that talent alone couldn't. Kubrick's sudden rise? It raised eyebrows. People in the industry began whispering. Who exactly had helped him? And what did he have on them? The Kirk Douglas factor. By 1957, Stanley Kubrick had a few small films under his belt, but he wasn't a household name. Then came Paths of Glory, a brutal anti-war film that would change everything. The lead role required a commanding presence, someone who could sell the film's intensity. Kirk Douglas, an A-list star with box office draw, ended up taking the role. But why? Douglas wasn't Kubrick's first choice. He was his only choice after bigger names passed. A rising director normally wouldn't have had the clout to land a star like Douglas, but somehow, Kubrick pulled it off. Filming Paths of Glory wasn't smooth. Douglas had starred in major hits like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Gunfight at the OK Corral, so he was used to running the show. But on Kubrick's set, things were different. The young director challenged Douglas constantly, demanding multiple takes, rewriting scenes, and refusing to let the actor's status dictate creative decisions. Douglas later called Kubrick a bastard, but admitted he was a genius. Under normal circumstances, a rising director wouldn't have been able to push an A-lister around. Douglas could have had Kubrick removed, but he didn't. Hollywood ran on relationships, power plays, and occasionally leverage. Some insiders speculated that Kubrick had something on Douglas, maybe photos from his Look magazine days, maybe something else. Whatever it was, Douglas tolerated Kubrick's dominance in a way that didn't quite add up. Then came Spartacus. Douglas, acting as producer and star, fired director Anthony Mann early in production. He needed a replacement, fast. Of all the directors available, he picked Kubrick, who had no experience directing something on this scale. Again, people questioned why. Kubrick didn't just direct Spartacus, he took over. He battled with the studio, demanded final cut, and clashed with Douglas over creative decisions. Douglas, a Hollywood powerhouse, let it happen. Some called it trust, others called it fear. Whatever the reason, Spartacus made Kubrick a force in Hollywood. After that, he never had to fight for control again. Unspoken rules of Hollywood. By the 1960s, Hollywood was shifting. The old studio system, the one that had controlled every aspect of an actor's life, from their contracts to their public image, was losing its grip. Scandals that once would have been buried were now leaking to the press. The stars weren't as protected as they used to be. But Stanley Kubrick? He was thriving. He wasn't tied to any one studio. He wasn't answering to the usual power players. He made films that should have been blocked, should have been censored, should have been too risky for Hollywood's gatekeepers. Yet somehow he got them made. Take Lolita, 1962, a film about a middle-aged man's obsession with a teenage girl. That was a direct challenge to the Hays Code, the industry's strict censorship guidelines. Hollywood had spent decades scrubbing films of anything too suggestive, yet Kubrick convinced major backers to push it through. How? Some say he had powerful allies. But allies don't just appear, they're earned. And Kubrick had spent years behind a camera, capturing the kinds of moments that never made it to the magazines. He had access to people in ways others didn't. He saw things others weren't meant to see, and if the rumors were true, he held on to those things. The film went forward with strategic changes, suggestion over explicitness, implication over direct depiction, but it still rattled the industry. Lolita was condemned by religious groups, challenged by censors, and nearly pulled from theaters. Yet Kubrick barely seemed fazed. That confidence didn't come from nowhere. Hollywood insiders whispered about a deeper network of influence. Studios made deals all the time, under-the-table agreements to kill a bad story, pay off a scandal, or protect the reputation of a rising star. Those who understood how power worked in Hollywood could bypass its rules. Kubrick didn't just understand the game, he played it better than anyone. And if he had leverage over the right people, no one was going to tell him no. The Brando incident. Marlon Brando was one of the most powerful actors in Hollywood. He had clashed with directors, rewritten scripts on set, and walked away from studios that didn't bend to his will. When One-Eyed Jacks, 1961, went into pre-production, Brando wasn't just starring, he was producing. That meant he had the final say. Originally, Stanley Kubrick was hired to direct. It should have been a huge career move. A Western backed by a major star was a golden ticket for any filmmaker, let alone one who was still proving himself in Hollywood, but Kubrick didn't last long. Brando was notorious for testing directors, pushing them until they either submitted to his style or cracked under the pressure. Kubrick, however, was different. He wasn't the type to back down. If anything, he was just as controlling as Brando, but in a more calculated way. That didn't sit well with the actor. Accounts vary on why Kubrick left. Officially, it was due to creative differences. Unofficially, some claim Brando didn't trust him. The two had multiple disagreements over the film's tone, pacing, and structure. Kubrick wanted a tight psychological Western. Brando wanted something looser, more poetic. Neither would budge. Then, suddenly, Kubrick was out. Brando took over as director himself. It was a disaster. The film's original schedule was around 3 months. It dragged on for 6. The budget ballooned. Paramount was furious, but Brando refused to rush. He shot endless takes, discarded entire scenes, and struggled to keep the production together. The final cut ran nearly 5 hours before the studio forced it down to a more manageable length. Despite the chaos, One-Eyed Jacks was released to decent reviews and solid box office numbers. But Brando swore he'd never direct again. The experience drained him, and Hollywood executives weren't eager to hand him that much control again. Kubrick, on the other hand, walked away untouched. He hadn't been fired. He had left on his terms. And in doing so, he avoided the career hit Brando suffered. If anything, his reputation only grew. Hollywood insiders were starting to realize Kubrick wasn't just another director, he was a wild card, and that made him dangerous. The green light nobody expected. In 1962, Stanley Kubrick had an idea that should have gotten him blacklisted. A darkly satirical take on nuclear war, mocking the military, the government, and the entire idea of Cold War deterrence. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, was the kind of film that powerful people wouldn't just reject, they'd make sure it never got made. Except somehow it did. At this point, Kubrick wasn't exactly a box office sensation. Lolita, 1962, had stirred controversy but wasn't a massive hit. His reputation as a filmmaker was solid, but not strong enough to demand complete creative control over a film this politically risky. And yet, Dr. Strangelove got the green light. More than that, Kubrick had full control, no studio interference, no government pushback. Officially, Columbia Pictures agreed to fund it under the condition that Peter Sellers play multiple roles, banking on his comedic star power. That explanation works on paper, but behind the scenes, people wondered how Kubrick got away with making a film that portrayed world leaders as incompetent fools and nuclear war as a sick joke. This was the height of Cold War paranoia. The Cuban Missile Crisis had nearly ended the world just a year earlier. The U.S. government was aggressively censoring anything that might fuel anti-American sentiment. Even the military had a say in how war movies were made. Pentagon approval was often the difference between a studio getting access to equipment or having to build everything from scratch. But Kubrick didn't need their approval. He had something better: a reputation for knowing things. During his Look magazine years, he had spent time around military officials and government insiders. By the 1960s, he had built relationships in high places and held on to information that might have made certain people uncomfortable. Some believed that Kubrick's ability to navigate Hollywood politics wasn't just about being persuasive. It was about making sure people knew he wasn't the type to be silenced. Whatever the real reason, Dr. Strangelove wasn't stopped. The film hit theaters in 1964, and audiences ate it up. It was hilarious, terrifying, and dangerously close to the truth. The question was, how did Kubrick make sure no one stood in his way? The Nixon connection. By the time A Clockwork Orange hit theaters in 1971, Stanley Kubrick wasn't just a filmmaker, he was a disruptor. His films weren't just pushing creative boundaries, they were challenging authority. And in the 1970s, that kind of challenge didn't go unnoticed. The U.S. government had been keeping tabs on Hollywood for decades. J. Edgar Hoover's FBI had files on actors, writers, and directors suspected of being subversive. But Kubrick wasn't just another name on a watch list. Some believed he had his own set of files, ones that made the powerful nervous. His adaptation of A Clockwork Orange struck a nerve in the UK, where it was linked to real-life acts of violence. In response, Kubrick personally had the film pulled from circulation, but whispers suggested he had been advised to do so. British authorities were already watching him, and some believed his name had made it onto a list of figures deemed culturally dangerous. Then came Barry Lyndon, 1975. On the surface, it was a period drama, but its depiction of British aristocracy as corrupt, incompetent, and self-serving didn't sit well with the establishment. Some critics claimed Kubrick was making a not-so-subtle statement about modern political elites. Even then, U.S. President Gerald Ford's administration reportedly took an interest in its themes. Despite this, Kubrick was never blacklisted, never publicly condemned. That alone made him an anomaly. Other filmmakers who stirred controversy, like Dalton Trumbo and Orson Welles, had careers derailed. But Kubrick? He kept getting funding, kept securing big-name actors, kept making exactly what he wanted. The question was, who was shielding him? Some believed Kubrick had leverage. Others thought he had allies in high places, people who recognized his genius and wanted to protect him. And then there was the darker theory, that he knew too much. The sudden exit. By the early 1980s, Kubrick wasn't just distant. He was practically a ghost. He had always been private, but now he was operating on a whole different level. Hollywood's elite directors made rounds at award shows, attended premieres, and rubbed shoulders at industry events. Not Kubrick. He wasn't showing up anywhere. After The Shining, 1980, his relationship with Hollywood became even more strained. Warner Brothers backed the film, but Kubrick was difficult. He demanded absolute creative control, fought with the studio over marketing, and refused to do press. The film performed well, but he wasn't celebrating. Instead, he vanished, retreating to his estate in England and cutting off nearly all contact with the industry. His next film, Full Metal Jacket, 1987, took years to develop. Studios were used to Kubrick's perfectionism, but this time, things were different. He wasn't just meticulous, he was moving at a glacial pace. Casting decisions dragged on, production stalled, and he refused to leave England to shoot on location. Instead, he recreated Vietnam in the English countryside, going to absurd lengths to stay in his comfort zone. Some assumed it was artistic stubbornness. Others thought he was keeping a low profile for reasons that had nothing to do with filmmaking. The more reclusive he became, the more the rumors started. Some claimed he was afraid of flying. Others said he was hiding from government scrutiny. Kubrick had made powerful enemies with Dr. Strangelove and A Clockwork Orange. Certain groups weren't happy with the way he portrayed the military, the government, or human nature itself. Did he know something that made him a target? What did he take to the grave? Stanley Kubrick died on March 7, 1999, just days after delivering his final cut of Eyes Wide Shut. A heart attack, they said. The timing raised eyebrows. The film itself raised even more. It wasn't just another Kubrick masterpiece, it was a story about secrecy, control, and elite circles operating in the shadows. Some called it fiction. Others thought it hit too close to home. After his death, his archives were locked down. His family controlled access, and only select materials have ever surfaced. But the question remains, what else was in there? Rumors had long swirled that Kubrick kept an insurance policy, a private collection of photographs, letters, and information on some of the most powerful figures in Hollywood and beyond. Was it true, or was it just another layer of the Kubrick myth? If Kubrick did keep something hidden, no one has ever found it, or at least no one's talking. And if there was a final twist to his story, it's one he took with him. Forget everything you thought you knew about movies. The films we're about to explore didn't just push boundaries, they obliterated them. These 20 moments in classic cinema didn't just court controversy, they married it. The Birth of a Nation. D.W. Griffith's silent epic The Birth of a Nation hit theaters on February 8, 1915. The film ran for over 3 hours and cost an unprecedented $110,000 to produce. Its controversial content centered on the Civil War and Reconstruction era, portraying the Ku Klux Klan as heroic figures and depicting Black Americans in an overwhelmingly negative light. The NAACP launched a nationwide protest against the film. In Boston, 500 people stormed the State House to demand the film be banned. Despite the outcry, President Woodrow Wilson screened the film at the White House, reportedly remarking, "It's like writing history with lightning." The film's technical innovations were groundbreaking. Griffith introduced new camera techniques, including the use of iris effects and careful placement of the camera to guide the viewer's eye. These advancements in filmmaking came at a steep social cost, as the movie reignited racial tensions and contributed to a resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s. Häxan. Benjamin Christensen's Swedish-Danish silent film Häxan premiered on September 18, 1922. The film, whose title translates to The Witch, was a groundbreaking exploration of witchcraft and demonology. With a budget of nearly 2 million Swedish kroner, it was the most expensive Scandinavian silent film ever made. Häxan was structured in 7 distinct chapters, blending documentary-style historical recreations with fictional narratives. The film's intense scenes startled audiences. One particularly controversial scene showed a woman giving birth to demons. Christensen spent 2 years researching the subject, drawing heavily from the 15th century treatise Malleus Maleficarum. He used a combination of live actors and stop-motion animation to create disturbing visuals of demons and monsters. The film was banned in the United States and heavily censored in other countries due to its explicit content. Freaks. Todd Browning's Freaks shocked audiences upon its release on February 20, 1932. The film featured real carnival performers with physical disabilities, including conjoined twins Daisy and Violet Hilton, and Prince Randian, known as the Living Torso. MGM studio head Irving Thalberg initially envisioned a horror film to rival Universal's Frankenstein. However, the result was far more controversial than anticipated. The original cut ran 90 minutes, but after disastrous test screenings, it was edited down to just 64 minutes. One infamous scene where the freaks take revenge on a trapeze artist caused a woman to threaten a lawsuit against MGM, claiming the film had caused her to suffer a miscarriage. The film was banned in the UK for 30 years and was a commercial failure, effectively ending Browning's career. Olga Baklanova, who played the trapeze artist, later recalled, "The most shocking thing for me was the scene where the midget was made to look like he was going to marry me. Oh, I just couldn't stand it. It was very difficult for me." Ecstasy. Gustav Machatti's Czech film Ecstasy premiered on January 20, 1933, starring a young Hedy Lamarr, then Hedy Kiesler, in her first major role. The film became well known for being the first mainstream movie to depict an intimate scene in a woman's experience of pleasure in a non-explicit way. The film featured provocative scenes, including Lamarr swimming unclothed and running through the woods. The most talked about moment was a close-up of Lamarr's face during a heightened emotional scene. The director, Machatti, created this effect by discreetly using a safety pin off-camera. Pope Pius XI denounced the film as evil, and it was banned in numerous countries. In the United States, customs officials seized and burned copies of the film. Lamarr later expressed regret over her participation, stating in her autobiography, "I had been duped and framed. My career was in ruins." Despite the controversy, the film won an award at the Venice Film Festival. It remains a significant work in the history of erotic cinema and a landmark in the depiction of female sexuality on screen. Peeping Tom. Michael Powell's Peeping Tom premiered in British cinemas on April 7, 1960, surprising audiences with its unsettling portrayal of voyeurism and suspense. The film centers on Mark Lewis, a cameraman who captures the final moments of women on film as part of his disturbing obsession. Powell used innovative techniques to put the audience in the killer's perspective, including a rifle-like camera with crosshairs and a spike attached to its tripod. This first-person approach was groundbreaking and deeply unsettling for viewers. The film's reception was overwhelmingly negative. Critic Derek Hill of the Tribune wrote, "The only really satisfactory way to dispose of Peeping Tom would be to shovel it up and flush it down the nearest sewer." Peeping Tom effectively ended Powell's career in Britain. It took nearly 2 decades for the film to be reassessed and recognized as a masterpiece of psychological horror. Martin Scorsese, who led efforts to restore the film, said, "I have always felt that Peeping Tom and Hitchcock's Psycho are wedded. They came out within months of each other, and they're both about the same things." Psycho. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho debuted on June 16, 1960, reshaping the horror genre and challenging the limits of mainstream cinema. The film's famous shower scene, in which Marion Crane, Janet Leigh, meets a violent end, stunned audiences with its intensity and daring depiction. Hitchcock shot the shower scene over 7 days, using 77 different camera angles. The scene contains 50 cuts in just 3 minutes. Chocolate syrup was used for blood, as it showed up better in black and white. Leigh later revealed that she couldn't take showers for years after filming the scene. Psycho cost $806,947 to produce and grossed over $50 million worldwide. Despite its commercial success, some critics were initially harsh. Bosley Crowther of the New York Times called it a blot on an honorable career. Time has vindicated the film, with many now considering it one of the greatest films ever made. Viridiana. Luis Buñuel's Viridiana premiered at the Cannes Film Festival on May 17, 1961, where it won the Palme d'Or. The film's blasphemous content and edgy themes sparked immediate controversy, particularly in Buñuel's native Spain, which was under the rule of conservative dictator Francisco Franco. The film follows a novice nun, Viridiana, whose attempt to help the poor leads to disaster. One of the most controversial scenes parodies Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, with beggars posing in the positions of Jesus and his disciples. The Spanish government, which had initially approved the script, banned the film and ordered all copies destroyed. The Vatican newspaper L'Osservatore Romano called it blasphemous. Buñuel, who was in exile in Mexico, quipped, "I didn't deliberately set out to be blasphemous, but then Pope John XXIII is a better judge of such things than I am." Despite the ban in Spain, a copy of the film was smuggled to France, allowing it to be screened at Cannes. The controversy actually boosted the film's international profile, cementing Buñuel's reputation as a provocative auteur. A Clockwork Orange. Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of Anthony Burgess's novel, A Clockwork Orange, premiered on December 19, 1971. The film's intense depictions of brutality, combined with its highly stylized approach, sparked widespread controversy. Kubrick used a variety of techniques to create the film's unsettling atmosphere. He employed wide-angle lenses to distort the image and create a sense of unease. The film's language, nadsat, was a mix of Russian, English, and invented slang, adding to its alien feel. In the UK, the film was linked to several brutal crimes allegedly inspired by it. In response, Kubrick himself withdrew the film from British distribution in 1973. It remained unavailable in the UK until after Kubrick's death in 1999. The film's star, Malcolm McDowell, suffered physical damage during filming. The scene where his character's eyes are forced open causes scratched corneas and temporary blindness. McDowell later said, "There was no CGI then, that's my eyes, man. I nearly lost my sight." Despite the controversy, or perhaps because of it, A Clockwork Orange was a box office success, grossing $26.6 million on a budget of $2.2 million. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. The Devils. Ken Russell's The Devils premiered on July 16, 1971, startling audiences with its provocative mix of sexuality, intense themes, and religious symbolism. Based on Aldous Huxley's The Devils of Loudun, the film explores alleged demonic possession in 17th century France. Derek Jarman's production design featured minimalist white sets that created a stark contrast with the film's bold content, including a controversial scene where nuns interact inappropriately with a religious statue. British censors demanded extensive cuts before allowing the film's release. The United States gave it an X rating, while Italy banned it entirely. Warner Bros. Still refuses to release the uncut version, with film historian Mark Kermode calling it the most famous film that no one has ever seen. Oliver Reed, who played the lead role of Father Grandier, later said, "We never set out to make a pretty film." Despite the controversy, or perhaps because of it, The Devils grossed over $11 million at the box office, equivalent to about $70 million today. Last House on the Left. Wes Craven's directorial debut, Last House on the Left, hit theaters on August 30, 1972. The film's tagline, "To avoid fainting, keep repeating, it's only a movie. Only a movie," hinted at its shocking content. Shot on a budget of just $87,000, the film used a documentary-style approach to enhance its realism. Craven employed handheld cameras and naturalistic acting, blurring the line between fiction and reality. The film's intense depictions of abuse and cruelty challenged the boundaries of what was considered acceptable in cinema. Censors in many countries demanded cuts or outright banned the film. In the UK, it was refused a certificate and became one of the most prominent video nasties of the 1980s. It wasn't granted an official release there until 2008. Actor David Hess, who played the villain Krug, composed the film's incongruously upbeat soundtrack. This juxtaposition of cheerful music with horrific imagery added to the film's unsettling nature. Craven later reflected, "I wanted to show aggression as something ugly and unavoidable in human nature." The Exorcist. William Friedkin's The Exorcist opened on December 26, 1973, becoming an immediate sensation and changing the face of horror cinema. Based on William Peter Blatty's novel, the film cost $12 million to produce and grossed over $441 million worldwide. The film's special effects were groundbreaking. For the famous head-spinning scene, a life-sized animatronic model of Linda Blair was created. The vomit projected in the film was actually a mixture of pea soup and oatmeal. Reports of audience members fainting, vomiting, and fleeing theaters circulated widely. In the UK, St. John Ambulance staffed some screenings. The British tabloid The Sun reported, "The Exorcist takes a chokehold on the senses and never lets go." Rumors of a curse on the production spread after several cast and crew members or their relatives died during filming. Friedkin dismissed these claims, stating, All the deaths were coincidental. The film received 10 Academy Award nominations, winning 2. It remains one of only a handful of horror films ever nominated for Best Picture. Cannibal Holocaust. Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust premiered in Italy on February 7, 1980. The film's realistic portrayal of brutality and actual animal killings sparked immediate controversy and legal trouble for its creators. Deodato used found footage techniques, presenting the film as recovered documentary footage. This approach was so convincing that Italian authorities initially believed the actors had been killed on camera. Deodato had to produce the actors in court to prove they were still alive. The film was banned in over 50 countries due to its extreme content. In Italy, Deodato faced charges of obscenity and wrongful death, with the latter dropped when he proved the deaths were simulated. However, he was prosecuted for animal cruelty due to the real on-screen killings of several animals. Despite its notoriety, or perhaps because of it, Cannibal Holocaust has grossed an estimated $200 million worldwide. Critics remain divided, with some dismissing it as exploitation and others praising its commentary on media sensationalism. Deodato himself stated, "I was trying to show how the media can manipulate reality." Cruising. William Friedkin's Cruising, starring Al Pacino, opened on February 15, 1980, immediately sparking protests from gay rights activists. The film, which follows a police detective investigating murders in New York's gay leather bar scene, was accused of promoting harmful stereotypes. During production, protesters disrupted filming by blowing whistles and air horns. Friedkin claimed that 80% of the film's dialogue had to be re-recorded due to the noise. The protests even extended to the film's premiere, where demonstrators picketed theaters. Friedkin made numerous cuts to secure an R rating, removing about 40 minutes of footage. The missing scenes, rumored to contain more explicit content, have never been released. Despite the controversy, or perhaps because of it, Cruising grossed $19.8 million at the box office. Pacino later reflected, "I would do it again. I don't worry about taking chances." The film has since been reassessed by some critics as a complex, if problematic, exploration of identity and sexuality. Caligula. Caligula, produced by Penthouse founder Bob Guccione, premiered on February 1, 1980, after a troubled production and legal battles. With a budget of $17.5 million, it was the most expensive pornographic film ever made at the time. The film's original director, Tinto Brass, clashed with Guccione over the film's content. Guccione eventually excluded Brass from the editing room and incorporated explicit adult scenes that he filmed himself along with Giancarlo Louis. The film's intense portrayals of intimacy and brutality surprised audiences and critics alike. Roger Ebert famously wrote, "Caligula is sickening, utterly worthless, shameful trash." Despite this, or perhaps because of it, the film grossed about $23 million at the box office. The cast included respected actors like Malcolm McDowell, Helen Mirren, and Peter O'Toole. Mirren later defended her participation, stating, "Everyone was rather uncomfortable, but we soldiered on." Various cuts of the film exist, ranging from 86 to 156 minutes. The uncut version remains banned in several countries. Despite its notoriety, Caligula has developed a cult following over the years. The Last Temptation of Christ. Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ opened on August 12, 1988, immediately sparking protests from religious groups. Based on Nikos Kazantzakis' novel, the film depicts a human, doubtful Jesus who imagines a life without crucifixion. The controversy began even before filming started. Paramount Pictures dropped the project due to pressure from religious groups. Universal eventually picked it up with a reduced budget of $7 million. The film's portrayal of Jesus envisioning a romantic relationship with Mary Magdalene sparked significant controversy. Protests occurred at theaters worldwide. In Paris, a cinema showing the film was firebombed, injuring 13 people. Despite the outcry, many critics praised the film. It received an Academy Award nomination for Best Director. Scorsese defended his work, stating, "I wanted to create a Jesus that viewers could relate to." The film grossed $8.4 million domestically, a modest sum considering the controversy. However, it has since been recognized as a significant work in Scorsese's filmography and religious cinema in general. Natural Born Killers. Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers hit theaters on August 26, 1994, igniting a debate about media glorification of violence. The film, based on a story by Quentin Tarantino, follows two serial killers who become media celebrities. Stone used a variety of filming techniques, including animation, rear projection, and multiple film stocks, creating a disorienting, hallucinatory effect. The film contains 3,000 cuts compared to 600 to 700 in most films of that length. The movie faced censorship issues in several countries. In the U.S., Stone had to make over 150 cuts to secure an R rating. The film was banned outright in Ireland until 2001. Controversy erupted when the film was linked to several copycat crimes. In 1995, Sarah Edmondson and Benjamin Darris went on a killing spree allegedly inspired by the movie. This led to a lawsuit against Stone and Time Warner, which was eventually dismissed. Despite the controversy, or perhaps because of it, the film grossed $50.3 million domestically. Kids. Larry Clark's Kids premiered at the Sundance Film Festival on January 25, 1995, startling audiences with its unfiltered portrayal of adolescent relationships and drug use. The film follows a group of New York City teenagers over 24 hours, exploring dark themes. Shot on a budget of $1.5 million, the film used a cast of mostly non-professional actors to enhance its realism. The script was written by 19-year-old Harmony Korine in just 3 weeks. The film's candid portrayal of adolescent relationships and drug use generated immediate controversy. It was rated NC-17 in the U.S., limiting its distribution. Miramax, owned by Disney at the time, created a new company, Shining Excalibur Films, to release the film and avoid controversy for its parent company. Despite, or perhaps because of, the controversy, Kids grossed $20.4 million worldwide. It launched the careers of several actors, including Chloe Sevigny and Rosario Dawson. Crash. David Cronenberg's Crash, based on J.G. Ballard's novel, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival on May 17, 1996. The film's exploration of symphorophilia, finding sexual excitement in car crashes, quickly generated controversy. At Cannes, jury president Francis Ford Coppola was reportedly so disturbed by the film that he refused to hand Cronenberg the special jury prize in person. In the UK, Westminster Council banned the film outright, while many other councils restricted its screening. The film's clinical approach to its subject matter, featuring graphic scenes and car crashes, shocked many viewers. Ted Turner, whose company owned the film's distribution rights, tried to prevent its release in the US, calling it really weird. Despite the controversy, Crash received critical acclaim. It won the New York Film Critics Circle Award for Best Director. The film grossed $2 million in North America, a modest sum given its limited release. However, it has since become a cult classic, recognized for its unflinching exploration of the relationship between technology, sexuality, and human psychology. Did you know that less than 2% of speaking characters in film are played by actors with disabilities? Yet some of the most memorable roles in cinema history have been portrayed by individuals with unique physical characteristics. From a 311 Emmy winner to a 6'3" contortionist, these are the actors who break every Hollywood mold. Schlitzie. Born in the Bronx, New York, in 1901, Schlitzie Surtees entered the world with microcephaly, a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by an unusually small head and brain. Standing at 4 feet tall, Schlitzie possessed a distinctive appearance that would later define his career. In the 1920s, Schlitzie found his way into the world of circus sideshows. Billed as Schlitzie the Pinhead, he became a staple attraction in circuses across the United States. His unique appearance and childlike demeanor drew crowds, but also raised questions about the ethics of such exhibitions. 1932 marked a turning point in Schlitzie's life. Todd Browning, a filmmaker known for his work in the horror genre, cast Schlitzie in the controversial film Freaks. The movie, which featured real carnival performers, shocked audiences with its depiction of sideshow life. Schlitzy's role, though small, left a lasting impression on viewers and film historians alike. Despite his fame, Schlitzy's legal status remained complicated. Unable to care for himself, he was often under the guardianship of various performers and managers. In the 1950s, sword swallower Bill Unks became Schlitzy's legal guardian, treating him with unusual kindness for the era. Schlitzy continued performing well into his 60s. His final years were spent in Los Angeles, where he enjoyed simple pleasures like feeding pigeons in MacArthur Park. On September 24, 1971, Schlitzy passed away at Fountain View Convalescent Home. His grave remained unmarked until 2009, when fans and fellow performers raised funds for a proper headstone. Hervé Villechaize. Hervé Jean-Pierre Villechaize entered the world on April 23, 1943 in Paris, France. Born with proportionate dwarfism, Villechaize stood at 3 feet 11 inches tall. His condition stemmed from an endocrine disorder likely due to his English mother's exposure to mustard gas during World War I. Villechaize's early life was marked by struggle. He underwent painful treatments in an attempt to increase his height, all of which proved unsuccessful. At 18, he moved to the United States, determined to pursue an acting career despite his limited English. The early 1970s saw Villechaize taking on small roles in films. His breakthrough came in 1974 when he was cast as Nick Nack in the James Bond film, The Man with the Golden Gun. The movie grossed $97.6 million worldwide, bringing Villechaize international attention. 1977 marked the beginning of Villechaize's most famous role. Cast as Tattoo in the TV series Fantasy Island, he became known for the catchphrase, "The plane, the plane." At the height of the show's popularity, Villechaize was earning $25,000 per episode. Despite his success, Villechaize faced personal demons. He struggled with depression and alcohol abuse. In 1983, he was fired from Fantasy Island after demanding a salary equal to that of his co-star Ricardo Montalban. Villechaize's later years were marked by health issues and financial struggles. On September 4, 1993, at the age of 50, he ended his life at his North Hollywood home. In a note, he cited chronic pain as the reason for his decision. Doug Jones. Born on May 24, 1960 in Indianapolis, Indiana, Doug Jones entered the world with a physique that would define his career. Standing at 6 feet 3 inches with a lean, flexible frame, Jones possessed natural attributes that would make him perfect for creature roles. Jones's journey into acting began at Ball State University, where he honed his mime and contortionist skills. These abilities, combined with his unique physique, set him apart in the competitive world of Hollywood. The 1990s saw Jones taking on small roles in various films and TV shows. His breakthrough came in 1997 when he was cast as the lead gentleman in the Hush episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This silent role showcased Jones's ability to convey emotion through movement and expression alone. 2004 marked the beginning of Jones's collaboration with director Guillermo del Toro. Cast as Abe Sapien in Hellboy, Jones brought life to the aquatic empath through his graceful movements. The film grossed $99.3 million worldwide and led to a sequel where Jones reprised his role. Jones's most acclaimed performance came in 2006 with Del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth. His dual roles as the Faun and the Pale Man required hours in the makeup chair and physically demanding performances. The film won 3 Academy Awards and solidified Jones's status as a master of prosthetic acting. In recent years, Jones has continued to take on challenging creature roles. His portrayal of the amphibian man in The Shape of Water, 2017, earned critical acclaim. The film won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, bringing Jones's work to an even wider audience. Tom York. He entered the world on October 7, 1968 in Wellingborough, England. Born with a paralyzed left eye, Thomas Edward York underwent 5 eye operations by age 6. These early experiences would shape not only his distinctive appearance but also his artistic vision. York's musical journey began in his teens when he formed a band with schoolmates at Abingdon School. This group would eventually evolve into Radiohead. Despite his visual impairment, York's charismatic stage presence and unique voice quickly set him apart in the music scene. In 1993, Radiohead released their debut album Pablo Honey, featuring the hit single Creep. The song's raw emotion and York's vulnerable vocals resonated with audiences worldwide. The album sold over 3 million copies globally, launching Radiohead's career. York's musical success continued throughout the 1990s and 2000s. Radiohead's albums consistently topped charts and received critical acclaim. OK Computer, 1997, sold over 7 million copies worldwide and is often cited as one of the greatest albums of all time. While primarily known for his music, York surprised fans and critics alike with his acting debut in 2018. He composed the score for Luca Guadagnino's remake of Suspiria and also appeared in the film in a cameo role. This marked York's first significant venture into the world of cinema. York's performance in Suspiria, while brief, showcased his ability to translate his haunting musical presence to the screen. His character, credited as a melancholic puppet, appeared in a dreamlike sequence perfectly complementing the film's eerie atmosphere. Peter Dinklage. He was born on June 11, 1969, in Morristown, New Jersey. Peter Hayden Dinklage was born with achondroplasia, a form of dwarfism that results in short limbs. Standing at 4 feet 5 inches tall, Dinklage's condition would shape both his personal life and his career in unexpected ways. Dinklage's acting journey began at Bennington College, where he appeared in numerous productions. After graduation, he struggled to find roles that weren't stereotypical or demeaning. Dinklage often turned down parts that required him to play elves or leprechauns, holding out for more substantial roles. In 2003, Dinklage's patience paid off with his breakout role in The Station Agent. The film, made on a budget of just $500,000, grossed $8.7 million worldwide and earned Dinklage critical acclaim. His portrayal of Finbar McBride, a man who seeks solitude in an abandoned train station, proved that actors with dwarfism could lead complex, dramatic roles. Despite this success, Dinklage continued to face typecasting. He took on a variety of roles in films like Elf, 2003, and Death at a Funeral, 2007, always striving to bring depth to his characters regardless of their screen time. Dinklage's career reached new heights in 2011 when he was cast as Tyrion Lannister in HBO's Game of Thrones. Over the course of 8 seasons, Dinklage appeared in 67 episodes, winning 4 Emmy Awards for his performance. The show's massive success, with the final season averaging 44.2 million viewers per episode, catapulted Dinklage to global stardom. Post-Game of Thrones, Dinklage has continued to take on challenging roles. He played Cyrano de Bergerac in the 2021 musical film Cyrano, a part traditionally played by actors of average height. The film showcased Dinklage's singing abilities and further demonstrated his range as an actor. Throughout his career, Dinklage has been an outspoken advocate for actors with dwarfism. In a 2012 interview, he stated, "I don't want to be the next anyone. I want to be the first Peter Dinklage." Warwick Davis. He entered the world on February 3, 1970, in Surrey, England. Born with spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia congenita, SED, a rare form of dwarfism, Warwick Ashley Davis stood at 3 feet 6 inches tall as an adult. This genetic condition would shape not only his physical appearance but also his extraordinary career in the film industry. Davis's entry into acting came purely by chance. In 1981, his grandmother heard a radio announcement calling for people under 4 feet tall to audition for Return of the Jedi. At just 11 years old, Davis landed the role of Wicket the Ewok, a character that would become a fan favorite in the Star Wars universe. Following his Star Wars debut, Davis's career took off in unexpected directions. In 1988, at age 17, he landed the titular role in the dark fantasy film Willow. Despite mixed reviews, the film grossed $137.6 million worldwide and became a cult classic. Davis's performance as the reluctant hero Willow Ufgood showcased his ability to carry a major Hollywood production. Throughout the 1990s, Davis took on a variety of roles that challenged the typical portrayals of little people in cinema. He starred in the horror comedy franchise Leprechaun, appearing in 6 films between 1993 and 2000. While critically panned, the series gained a cult following and grossed over $80 million collectively. Davis's career reached new heights when he joined the Harry Potter franchise. He played multiple roles across all 8 films, most notably Professor Phileas Flitwick and the Goblin Griphook. The series' massive success with a total box office of $7.7 billion brought Davis's talents to a global audience. In 2011, Davis co-created and starred in the mockumentary series Life's Too Short. The show, which ran for 2 seasons, offered a fictionalized account of Davis's life as a little person in show business. It tackled issues of discrimination and typecasting with humor and candor. Throughout his career, Davis has been an advocate for actors with dwarfism. He founded the Reduced Height Theater Company in 2014, creating opportunities for short actors in classic plays. In a 2015 interview, Davis stated, "I want to see short actors playing characters that would be open to any actor to play, not just someone who's short." Fairuza Balk. She was born on May 21, 1974, in Point Reyes, California, as Fairuza Alejandra Feldhaus. Her unique name, meaning turquoise in Persian, hinted at the unconventional path her life would take. Raised in a family with ties to the arts and mysticism, Balk's upbringing was far from ordinary. Balk's acting career began early. At age 9, she beat out 1 on 200 other girls to land the starring role in Disney's Return to Oz, 1985. The film, while initially unsuccessful at the box office, grossing only $11.1 million against a $28 million budget, later gained cult status. Throughout her teens, Balk took on various roles, showcasing her versatility. She appeared in the gritty drama Gas Food Lodging, 1992, and the quirky comedy Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, 1995. These performances hinted at the darker, more complex roles to come. 1996 marked a turning point in Balk's career with her role as Nancy Downs in The Craft. The film, about a coven of teenage witches, grossed $55.6 million worldwide and became a cult classic. Balk's intense portrayal of Nancy cemented her status as a 90s icon. Balk's commitment to her role in The Craft extended beyond the screen. She purchased an occult shop in Los Angeles, fueling rumors about her real-life involvement in witchcraft. In a 2017 interview, Balk clarified, "I am not a witch. I don't have magical powers." Following The Craft, Balk continued to take on challenging roles. She appeared in American History X, 1998, and Almost Famous, 2000, demonstrating her range as an actress. Despite her success, Balk has maintained a relatively low profile in recent years, choosing projects carefully and focusing on her art and music. Javier Botet. Born on July 30, 1977, in Ciudad Real, Spain. From birth, Javier Botet Franco faced unique physical challenges due to Marfan syndrome, a genetic disorder affecting connective tissue. This condition resulted in an extremely tall, thin frame and unusually long, flexible limbs. Growing up, Botet's height reached 6'6", and he weighed only 120 pounds. These distinctive physical traits, initially a source of insecurity, would later become his greatest asset in the film industry. Botet's journey into acting began in his early 20s. He started by creating short films, using his unique physique to portray bizarre and otherworldly characters. His talent for physical performance and creature movement quickly caught the attention of Spanish filmmakers. In 2007, Botet landed his first major role in the Spanish horror film Erec. His portrayal of Niña Medeiros, a terrifying infected woman, showcased his ability to bring inhuman characters to life. The film's success led to multiple sequels, with Botet reprising his role. Hollywood took notice of Botet's talent in 2013 when he was cast as the title character in Mama. The film, produced by Guillermo del Toro, grossed $146 million worldwide. Botez's performance as the ghostly mama demonstrated his ability to convey emotion through movement, even under heavy prosthetics. Following Mama, Botez's career in Hollywood horror films skyrocketed. He portrayed the crooked man in The Conjuring 2, 2016, the leper in It, 2017, and Keyface in Insidious, The Last Key, 2018. Each role further cemented his status as the go-to actor for nightmarish creatures. Despite his success in horror, Botez has expressed a desire to break typecasting. In a 2018 interview, he stated, "I love horror movies, but I'd like to do more kinds of movies. I can play many characters that aren't monsters." Anya Taylor-Joy. She was born on April 16, 1996 in Miami, Florida. From birth, Anya Josephine Marie Taylor-Joy possessed unique features that would later captivate audiences worldwide. Her large, wide-set eyes and ethereal appearance set her apart in an industry often fixated on conventional beauty standards. Taylor-Joy's early years were marked by frequent moves. She spent her childhood between Argentina and England, an experience that she credits for her ability to adapt to different environments, a skill that would serve her well in her future acting career. At age 16, Taylor-Joy was scouted as a model while walking her dog in London. This chance encounter led to her first acting audition for the role of Thomasin in Robert Eggers' The Witch, 2015. Despite having no prior acting experience, Taylor-Joy landed the part, marking the beginning of her rapid rise in Hollywood. The Witch premiered at the 2015 Sundance Film Festival to critical acclaim. Made on a budget of $4 million, the film grossed $40 million worldwide. Taylor-Joy's haunting performance as a Puritan teenager accused of witchcraft caught the attention of both critics and audiences. Following her breakthrough, Taylor-Joy took on a series of challenging roles that showcased her versatility. She starred in the psychological thriller Split, 2016, and its sequel Glass, 2019, which collectively grossed over $500 million worldwide. In 2020, Taylor-Joy's career reached new heights with her portrayal of chess prodigy Beth Harmon in the Netflix miniseries The Queen's Gambit. The show became Netflix's most-watched scripted miniseries, with 62 million households watching in its first 28 days. Taylor-Joy's performance earned her a Golden Globe and a Screen Actors Guild Award. Throughout her career, Taylor-Joy has embraced her unique appearance. In a 2021 interview, she stated, "I have never, and I don't think I will ever think of myself as beautiful. I don't think I'm beautiful enough to be in films. I just think I'm weird-looking." Despite her self-perception, Taylor-Joy's distinctive look has become her trademark. She has fronted campaigns for major fashion brands and graced numerous magazine covers. Maisie Williams. Margaret Constance Williams was born on April 15, 1997, in Bristol, England. From an early age, Williams, who prefers to go by Maisie, stood out with her distinctive features, including prominently arched eyebrows and an unconventional beauty that would later challenge Hollywood norms. Williams's entry into acting came unexpectedly. At age 12, she auditioned for the role of Arya Stark in HBO's Game of Thrones, despite having no prior professional acting experience. Out of 300 actresses across England, Williams landed the part, a decision that would change her life dramatically. Game of Thrones premiered in 2011, with Williams' portrayal of Arya quickly becoming a fan favorite. Over the show's 8 seasons, Williams appeared in 59 episodes, growing up on screen and honing her craft. The series finale in 2019 drew 19.3 million viewers, cementing its place in television history. Throughout her time on Game of Thrones, Williams faced challenges related to her appearance. Standing at 5'1", she often wore shoes with height-adding soles during filming. In a 2019 interview, Williams revealed, "I had to wear a strap across my chest to flatten any growth that had started." Post-Game of Thrones, Williams has actively worked to challenge typecasting. She took on diverse roles, including Ron Sinclair in the superhero film The New Mutants 2020 and punk icon Jordan in the miniseries Pistol 2022. These parts showcased her versatility beyond the warrior character that made her famous. Williams has also become an advocate for body positivity in Hollywood. She's been open about her struggles with self-image, particularly during her formative years on a globally watched show. In 2021, she stated, "I'd rather be authentic and comfortable in my skin than try to fit a certain mold." In recent years, Williams has expanded her creativity beyond acting. She co-founded Daisy, a social media platform aimed at helping young creatives collaborate on projects. The app gained 100,000 users within its first 11 days, demonstrating Williams's influence beyond the screen. Once a symbol of Hollywood's golden era, Liza Minnelli's mansion now stands as a haunting relic of fame and fortune gone awry. How did this opulent estate, once alive with A-list parties and extravagant celebrations, fall into disrepair? Liza Minnelli's ascent to stardom. She was born on March 12, 1946, in Hollywood, California. Daughter of legendary actress Judy Garland and director Vincente Minnelli, she was destined for the spotlight. Liza's career began early. At the age of 3, she appeared in the final scene of the musical In the Good Old Summertime, 1949, alongside her mother. Her first major role came in 1963 when she starred in an off-Broadway revival of Best Foot Forward. This performance earned her the Theatre World Award. At 19, she became the youngest person to win a Tony Award for her role in Flora the Red Menace, 1965. This was just the beginning. Liza's rise to fame was marked by several significant milestones. In 1969, she starred in The Sterile Cuckoo, earning her first Academy Award nomination. But it was her role in Cabaret, 1972, that catapulted her to superstardom. Directed by Bob Fosse, the film was a huge success. Her portrayal of Sally Bowles won her an Academy Award for Best Actress, a Golden Globe, and a BAFTA Award. Her success in Cabaret solidified her place in Hollywood. The film received 8 Oscars, including Best Director for Fosse and Best Cinematography for Jeffrey Unsworth. Liza's performance, characterized by her powerful voice and expressive eyes, became iconic. Following Cabaret, she continued to shine on both stage and screen. In 1977, she starred in Martin Scorsese's musical drama New York, New York, alongside Robert De Niro. Though the film didn't achieve commercial success, it gave birth to one of her most famous songs, Theme from New York, New York. Throughout the 1970s, her presence was ubiquitous. She made numerous television appearances, including her own Emmy-winning special, Liza with a Z, 1972, directed by Bob Fosse. This special showcased her exceptional talent and versatility, blending music, dance, and comedy. By the late 1970s, Liza Minnelli was not just a star, she was a cultural icon. Her unique style, characterized by short jet black hair and dramatic makeup, was instantly recognizable. She became a muse for fashion designers, including Halston, with whom she shared a close friendship. The peak of fame. In the 1970s, Liza Minnelli's career reached its zenith. With her role in Cabaret making her a household name, she quickly became one of Hollywood's most sought-after talents. During this period, her personal life was also in the spotlight. Her marriage to Jack Haley Jr. in 1974 brought her into the public eye in new ways. Haley, the son of the actor who played the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, seemed a fitting partner for Hollywood royalty. Their relationship, while high-profile, ultimately ended in divorce in 1979. Despite this, they remained friends, showing the resilience of her character. Throughout the 1970s, her influence extended beyond the screen and stage. She became a fashion icon, often seen in the latest designs by Halston, a close friend and one of the era's most influential designers. Her style, characterized by her distinctive short hair, bold makeup, and glamorous outfits, set trends and inspired countless fans. Her performances were not limited to film and television. She continued to light up the stage with electrifying performances. One notable show was her return to Broadway in The Act, 1977, a musical created specifically for her. The show ran for 233 performances and earned her a second Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical. As the 1980s approached, Liza Minnelli was at the pinnacle of her career. She had achieved immense success, becoming an icon in music, film, and theater. A home full of splendor and elegance. In the midst of her career highs, Liza Minnelli made a significant purchase that symbolized her success, a luxurious mansion in Beverly Hills. This opulent estate, bought in the early 1970s, became her sanctuary and a reflection of her larger-than-life persona. The mansion, located on North Roxbury Drive, was a sprawling property that exuded elegance and sophistication. It boasted classic Hollywood architecture with grand columns, expansive lawns, and intricate detailing. The interiors were just as impressive, featuring high ceilings, ornate chandeliers, and lavish furnishings that mirrored her glamorous lifestyle. The home became a hub for Hollywood's elite. Frequent visitors included some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. Legendary figures like Frank Sinatra, Elizabeth Taylor, and Halston were often seen at her lavish parties. These gatherings were the epitome of Hollywood extravagance, filled with music, laughter, and the finest champagne. One of the most memorable features of the mansion was its entertainment spaces. The grand living room, with its plush seating and state-of-the-art sound system, was perfect for impromptu performances and sing-alongs. There was also a stunning outdoor area, complete with a swimming pool and lush gardens, where guests could relax and enjoy the California sunshine. Liza's personal touch was evident throughout the mansion. Each room reflected her unique sense of style and love for the dramatic. The walls were adorned with artwork and memorabilia from her illustrious career, including posters from Cabaret and New York, and photographs of her with other Hollywood legends. The master suite was a sanctuary within a sanctuary. It featured a luxurious king-sized bed, a walk-in closet filled with designer outfits, and a balcony that offered breathtaking views of the city. This space was her retreat, a place where she could unwind and recharge after the demands of her hectic schedule. The mansion wasn't just a place for parties, it was also a creative haven. Liza often used the space to rehearse for upcoming performances and to entertain close friends and family in more intimate settings. Music and laughter filled the halls, making it a home full of life and joy. Despite the glamour, the mansion also witnessed some of her personal struggles. It was a place where she faced battles with addiction and health issues. Yet, through it all, the home remained a symbol of her resilience and determination to keep moving forward. By the late 1970s, the mansion on North Roxbury Drive had become an iconic part of her legacy. The mansion stood as a shining example of Hollywood opulence, a place where dreams were made and where the star herself could find solace and inspiration. Personal struggles begin. As Liza Minnelli's career soared, her personal life began to face significant challenges. The 1980s marked a period of intense struggles, both professionally and personally. Despite her public persona of glamour and success behind closed doors, she faced battles that would profoundly impact her life. Liza's struggles with addiction became increasingly severe during this time. The pressures of maintaining her career, coupled with the legacy of her famous mother's own struggles with substance abuse, created a challenging environment. She was open about her battles, telling The New York Times in a 1994 interview, "I'm my mother's daughter. I'm her disciple. I'm proud of it, proud of her." The first significant public acknowledgement of her struggles came in 1984 when she entered the Betty Ford Center for treatment. This was a pivotal moment, as it marked her first attempt to confront and manage her addiction. The Betty Ford Center, known for its comprehensive treatment programs, provided a refuge where she could begin her journey toward recovery. Her health issues extended beyond addiction. In 1984, she was diagnosed with viral encephalitis, a severe condition that threatened her life. Doctors initially feared she would never walk or talk again. In a later interview, she recounted, "I was told I wouldn't walk or talk or anything, and I told the doctors, no, let me try." Her recovery was nothing short of miraculous, demonstrating her incredible willpower and determination. Amid these personal battles, her career faced its own set of challenges. The 1980s saw fewer high-profile roles, and the demanding nature of her personal life made it difficult to maintain the same level of professional activity. However, she continued to perform and make appearances, showing resilience in the face of adversity. Her personal relationships also faced turmoil. After her divorce from Jack Haley Jr. in 1979, she married Mark Giro, a sculptor and stage manager, in 1979. Their relationship was intensely scrutinized by the media, and they eventually divorced in 1992. Despite these struggles, she remained a beloved figure in the entertainment industry. Her talent and charisma continued to captivate audiences. In 1985, she returned to Broadway with The Rink, a musical co-starring Chita Rivera. The show ran for 204 performances, and her role earned her a Drama Desk Award nomination. Her mansion on North Roxbury Drive remained a constant in her life, even as other aspects seemed tumultuous. It was a place where she could retreat, reflect, and gather strength. The mansion saw moments of joy and sorrow, standing as a silent witness to her incredible journey. As the 1990s approached, Liza Minnelli faced more than most could imagine. Her personal struggles were significant, but her determination to overcome them was even more remarkable. Financial troubles. As the 1990s progressed, Liza Minnelli's financial situation began to mirror the turmoil of her personal life. Despite her success and the wealth it brought, managing finances became increasingly challenging. The costs associated with her lifestyle, health issues, and professional setbacks started to accumulate, leading to significant financial strain. The mansion on North Roxbury Drive, once a symbol of her success, became a substantial financial burden. The maintenance of such a grand estate was expensive, and as her income fluctuated, keeping up with the costs became difficult. Regular upkeep, repairs, and property taxes added up, creating a growing financial challenge. In addition to the mansion's maintenance costs, Liza faced mounting medical expenses. Her ongoing health issues required frequent medical attention, treatments, and hospital stays. These costs, combined with her efforts to maintain her career and personal life, placed a significant strain on her finances. By the early 1990s, it became clear that managing the mansion was no longer sustainable. The property, which had once been the site of glamorous parties and gatherings, started showing signs of neglect. The gardens, once meticulously maintained, grew wild and unkempt. The interior, which had been a showcase of opulence, began to deteriorate as essential repairs were delayed due to financial constraints. In 1992, her financial troubles became more public. Reports of unpaid bills and lawsuits for non-payment surfaced, highlighting the depth of her financial struggles. Creditors and former employees filed claims, and the media began to cover her financial woes extensively. This public scrutiny added to the pressure she was already facing. In an attempt to alleviate some of the financial burden, she started to sell off valuable possessions. Artworks, jewelry, and other personal items were auctioned to raise funds. These sales provided temporary relief, but were not enough to resolve her financial difficulties entirely. The strain of her financial troubles was compounded by personal issues. Her marriage to Mark Jarrow ended in 1992, adding emotional stress to her already difficult situation. The divorce proceedings and settlement further impacted her financial stability. Despite these challenges, Liza Minnelli continued to work. She took on various roles in television and film, including guest appearances and supporting roles. Her performances, though fewer than in her peak years, continued to showcase her incredible talent and resilience. The pressure of her financial situation affected her health and well-being. Stress and anxiety about her finances, combined with her ongoing battles with addiction and health issues, made this a particularly challenging period. She entered rehab again in the late 1990s, seeking help for her substance abuse issues. By the end of the decade, it was evident that drastic measures were needed to address her financial problems. The decision to sell the mansion became inevitable. The property, once a beacon of her success, had become an albatross, symbolizing the difficulties she faced. In 2002, the mansion was put on the market. Selling the estate was a heartbreaking decision, but it was necessary to stabilize her finances. The sale marked the end of an era, closing a chapter that had been filled with both incredible highs and significant lows. The decline of the mansion. With the sale of the mansion in 2002, the property that had once epitomized Hollywood glamour and Liza Minnelli's success entered a period of decline. The new owners faced the daunting task of restoring a property that had seen years of neglect. Despite their efforts, the mansion's condition continued to deteriorate, becoming a shadow of its former self. The first signs of decline were evident in the overgrown gardens and disrepair of the once grand facade. The meticulously manicured lawns and colorful flower beds, which had been a hallmark of the estate, were replaced by weeds and overgrowth. The fountain, a centerpiece of the front yard, fell into disrepair, its once sparkling waters now stagnant and murky. Inside the mansion, the situation was equally dire. The opulent interiors that had hosted countless glamorous parties and gatherings were now showing significant wear and tear. Cracks appeared in the walls, paint peeled from the ceilings, and the elegant fixtures that had once dazzled guests were tarnished and broken. The ballroom, which had echoed with the sounds of music and laughter, was now silent and dusty. The grand piano, a focal point of many impromptu performances by Liza and her guests, stood untouched and out of tune. The crystal chandeliers that had illuminated the room were dim and covered in cobwebs. Despite the neglect, traces of its former glory remained. Portraits of Liza and her family, remnants of the lavish furnishings, and the iconic architectural details all served as reminders of the mansion's illustrious past. These remnants, however, only accentuated the stark contrast between the estate's current state and its former splendor. Efforts to restore the mansion were met with numerous challenges. The cost of necessary repairs was substantial, and finding buyers or investors willing to undertake such a project proved difficult. The mansion's size and historical significance made any restoration project both costly and complex. In the mid-2000s, there were several attempts to sell the mansion. However, the high asking price, coupled with the extensive repairs needed, deterred potential buyers. The property changed hands multiple times, each new owner facing the same difficulties in restoring it to its former glory. By the late 2000s, the mansion had become an emblem of Hollywood's fleeting nature. What had once been a vibrant, lively home filled with the sounds of celebration was now a quiet, decaying structure. The decline of the mansion mirrored the transient nature of fame and fortune, serving as a poignant reminder of the highs and lows experienced by those in the entertainment industry. Attempts at revival. In the early 2010s, interest in restoring the mansion surged. Preservationists, historians, and fans of Liza Minnelli rallied to save the property. The first major attempt came in 2011 when a well-known real estate developer expressed interest in purchasing and restoring the mansion. The developer had a track record of successfully reviving historic properties, and the plan included a comprehensive renovation that would preserve the original architectural features while updating the estate to modern standards. However, the estimated cost of the project, which ran into millions of dollars, became a significant hurdle. Securing the necessary funding proved difficult, and the deal eventually fell through. In 2013, another effort was initiated by a group of private investors who shared a passion for Hollywood history. This group, which included celebrities and philanthropists, aimed to restore the mansion as a cultural landmark and potentially open it to the public as a museum or event space. They believed that the mansion's storied past and connection to Liza Minnelli could attract visitors and generate revenue to sustain the property. Despite their enthusiasm and initial fundraising success, logistical challenges and disagreements among the group members led to the project being abandoned. Throughout these attempts, the mansion continued to deteriorate. The once lush gardens were now overgrown with weeds, and the exterior of the house showed significant wear and tear. Vandals and trespassers had taken a toll on the property, further complicating restoration efforts. Security measures were implemented, but the damage had already been done. In 2015, a nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving historic Hollywood properties stepped in. They launched a public campaign to raise awareness and funds for the mansion's restoration. The campaign garnered significant attention, and donations poured in from fans around the world. The organization managed to raise a substantial amount, but it was still not enough to cover the extensive restoration costs. One of the more creative attempts at revival came in 2017 when a film production company proposed using the mansion as a set for a high-budget historical drama series. The idea was to integrate the restoration into the production budget, using the mansion's revival as part of the storyline. This proposal generated considerable buzz and seemed like a promising solution. However, due to changes in the production schedule and financing issues, the project was shelved. In 2019, a new hope emerged when a tech entrepreneur with a passion for historic properties purchased the mansion. The new owner announced plans for a meticulous restoration, combining modern technology with traditional craftsmanship to bring the mansion back to life. Early reports indicated that significant progress was being made, with an emphasis on retaining the original charm and character of the estate. The mansion today. In 2024, the mansion is largely uninhabited, its grand halls and opulent rooms now empty and silent. The exterior shows significant wear, with ivy and overgrown vegetation creeping up the walls. Windows are boarded up, and the grand entrance that once welcomed Hollywood's elite is now weathered and uninviting. Inside, the decay is even more apparent. The once lavish decor has succumbed to the ravages of time. Ceilings have collapsed in places, revealing the skeletal structure of the mansion. Floors are strewn with debris, and the elegant fixtures and furnishings are either gone or in a state of severe disrepair. The ballroom, where Liza Minnelli and her guests once danced and sang, is now a hauntingly empty space, its splendor reduced to echoes of the past. Despite its dilapidated state, the mansion still attracts attention. Urban explorers, history enthusiasts, and fans of Liza Minnelli continue to visit, documenting their experiences and sharing them on social media. These visits, while unauthorized, have kept the memory of the mansion alive in the public consciousness. Photographs and videos of the decaying interiors circulate widely, sparking discussions about its history and the life of its famous owner. The mansion's current state has also inspired artistic projects. Photographers, filmmakers, and artists have used the property as a backdrop for works that explore themes of decay, memory, and the passage of time. These projects have brought a new kind of life to the mansion, even in its abandonment, turning it into a source of creative inspiration. While the future of the mansion remains uncertain, its story continues to captivate. It stands as a silent witness to the highs and lows of Hollywood, a physical reminder of the impermanence of fame and fortune. Hollywood loves a good love story, but when it comes to Susan Sarandon, the line between fact and fiction is blurrier than ever. Today we cut through the noise and bring you the real story of her love life. From her storied past to her bold revelations, find out what Susan has to say about the affairs that have kept tabloids buzzing. The emergence of the rumors. Celebrated for her roles in films like Thelma and Louise and Dead Man Walking, Susan Sarandon often found herself in the spotlight. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, her love life became a significant topic of public interest. In 1988, while filming Bull Durham, she met Tim Robbins. Their on-screen chemistry blossomed into a real-life romance, captivating fans and media alike. Their relationship, lasting over 2 decades, was high profile in Hollywood. The couple had 2 sons, Jack and Miles, and appeared to be a perfect match. Their decision not to marry fueled constant media speculation and scrutiny. Despite a relatively stable personal life with Robbins, rumors about other alleged affairs began to circulate. In the early 1990s, whispers linked her to other co-stars and prominent Hollywood figures. These rumors often lacked substantiation, but persisted due to her celebrity status. In 1999, while starring alongside Paul Newman in Twilight, tabloids speculated about a possible fling, despite both being in committed relationships. Newman, a longtime friend, dismissed the rumors as typical Hollywood nonsense. By the early 2000s, gossip continued unabated. In 2003, she and Robbins attended the Cannes Film Festival, where their interactions with various celebrities led to another round of rumors. Sources close to the couple dismissed these stories as completely unfounded. In 2009, their separation after 23 years together fueled even more speculation. The media buzzed with theories about the reasons behind the split, many suggesting infidelity. Both Sarandon and Robbins maintained a dignified silence amid the media storm. As Sarandon continued her successful career in films like Cloud Atlas and The Lovely Bones, the rumors persisted. A new wave of gossip arose in 2010 when she began working with Jonathan Bricklin on the ping pong club, Spin. Their close professional relationship led to further speculation about a romantic involvement. Despite the constant rumors, she rarely addressed them publicly. In a 2012 interview with AARP, she commented on her relationship with Robbins, stating, "We were together for a really long time. It's an incredible thing to have a family with someone." Sarandon's early relationships. Before the media frenzy surrounding her later years, Susan Sarandon's early relationships set the stage for the public's fascination with her love life. Born Susan Abigail Tomlin, she married actor Chris Sarandon in 1967. They met at the Catholic University of America, where both were studying drama. Their marriage lasted until 1979, during which time she adopted his surname, keeping it even after their divorce. During the late 1970s, Sarandon's career began to take off with roles in films like The Rocky Horror Picture Show, 1975, and Pretty Baby, 1978. Around this time, rumors started to emerge about potential off-screen romances. One significant relationship was with director Louis Malle, whom she met while working on Pretty Baby. Although their relationship was professional, it fueled speculation in the tabloids. Post-divorce, she briefly dated actor Sean Penn in the early 1980s. The relationship was kept relatively private, with little media coverage compared to her later relationships. However, the intrigue surrounding her personal life was already beginning to build. In 1983, she starred in The Hunger, a film that paired her with David Bowie. Their on-screen chemistry sparked rumors of an off-screen romance. These rumors were largely unfounded, as she later clarified in interviews that their relationship was strictly professional and respectful. Her next notable relationship was with Italian filmmaker Franco Amuri, with whom she had a daughter, Ava Amuri, in 1985. This relationship was marked by mutual respect and collaboration, with Amuri directing Sarandon in the film Quiet Chaos, 1988. The couple's decision to co-parent amicably after their separation set a positive example in Hollywood. Despite the end of her marriage and various relationships, Sarandon's career continued to flourish. She earned critical acclaim and an Oscar nomination for her role in Atlantic City, 1980. Followed by standout performances in The Witches of Eastwick, 1987, and Bull Durham, 1988. These successes solidified her status as a leading actress in Hollywood and kept her in the public eye. Throughout these years, Sarandon's personal life remained a topic of interest. Her decision to keep her surname post-divorce was seen as a symbol of her independence and strength. Her ability to balance a successful career with motherhood also earned her admiration. In a 1995 interview with the New York Times, she reflected on her early years and relationships, saying, "Each relationship taught me something valuable about myself and my journey. I have no regrets." This perspective highlighted her resilience and growth, which resonated with many of her fans. The iconic romance with Tim Robbins. In 1988, Susan Sarandon's life took a pivotal turn when she met Tim Robbins on the set of Bull Durham. Their chemistry was undeniable, both on and off screen, and it wasn't long before their relationship became a focal point for Hollywood gossip. Their romance was considered unconventional, primarily due to the 12-year age difference, but that did not deter them. Instead, their relationship flourished in the public eye, creating a power couple dynamic that was rare in Hollywood. The media's fascination with their relationship was fueled by their decision to live together and raise a family without getting married. In 1989, their first son, Jack Henry Robbins, was born. This joyous occasion was covered extensively by the press, with many applauding their decision to start a family despite not being legally wed. 3 years later, they welcomed their second son, Miles Guthrie Robbins, further solidifying their partnership. Throughout the 1990s, Sarandon and Robbins were frequently seen at industry events, award shows, and political rallies, often using their platform to advocate for social and political causes. They collaborated on several projects, including the critically acclaimed film Dead Man Walking in 1995, which Robbins directed and for which Sarandon won the Academy Award for Best Actress. Their professional collaboration was as celebrated as their personal relationship, making them one of Hollywood's most influential couples. Despite their high-profile status, they managed to keep their private life relatively shielded from the public. However, rumors about their relationship were inevitable. Stories of alleged affairs and disagreements surfaced from time to time, but they often addressed these with humor and dismissiveness. In a 1999 interview with The Guardian, Sarandon joked about the rumors, saying, "It's always amusing to read about your own affairs in the paper." The couple's commitment to each other was evident in their shared projects and public appearances. However, in 2009, after 23 years together, they announced their separation. The news came as a shock to many, sparking a wave of speculation about the reasons behind the split. The media speculated extensively, with many attributing the breakup to various unsubstantiated rumors of infidelity and growing apart. In the aftermath, both maintained a dignified silence, focusing on their careers and children. In a 2010 interview with The Telegraph, Sarandon reflected on their time together, stating, "It's been a journey. I think we both decided that it was time to move on and grow in different directions." The stirring speculation, Jonathan Bricklin. In 2010, Susan Sarandon's life took another interesting turn when she became involved in a new business venture. She co-founded Spin, a chain of ping-pong clubs, with Jonathan Bricklin and other partners. Bricklin, significantly younger than her, soon became the center of new speculation about her love life. Their professional relationship quickly turned into a close personal bond, leading to rampant rumors about a romantic involvement. At the time, Bricklin was in his early 30s, making the age difference a hot topic for tabloids. The media eagerly pounced on their public appearances and business interactions, often insinuating more than just a friendship and business partnership. Bricklin himself was not a typical Hollywood figure. The son of Malcolm Bricklin, an entrepreneur famous for bringing Subaru to America, Jonathan had a different background than most of her previous partners. This difference added another layer of intrigue to their relationship. Despite the constant media attention, both Sarandon and Bricklin were reluctant to label their relationship, often avoiding direct answers when asked by reporters. In a 2014 interview with the Daily Beast, Sarandon addressed the rumors, stating, "I don't think there's anything odd about our relationship. I think we're in each other's lives for the right reasons." This quote did little to quell the gossip, as media outlets continued to speculate about the nature of their bond. The pair were often seen together at spin events, red carpet appearances, and social gatherings, feeding the rumor mill. Despite this, they maintained a professional demeanor, focusing on their shared passion for promoting spin. Their collaboration brought ping pong into the spotlight, transforming it from a casual pastime into a trendy social activity. In 2015, during an appearance on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, Sarandon mentioned her relationship with Bricklin without giving away too much detail. She described him as a very special person in her life, but did not confirm nor deny the romantic speculations. This ambiguity only fueled more curiosity and media attention. Their dynamic was further complicated by Sarandon's candid discussions about her views on love and relationships. She often spoke about the fluidity of relationships and the importance of personal growth. In a 2016 interview with AARP, she said, "I don't think relationships should be static. People grow and change, and it's important to allow each other the space to do that." Despite their close relationship, Sarandon and Bricklin eventually parted ways. By 2018, reports indicated that they had amicably separated, choosing to focus on their individual paths. Hollywood and gossip, the pressure cooker. Her career has long been intertwined with the relentless scrutiny of Hollywood gossip. This environment has often amplified personal details, turning them into public spectacles. The media's obsession with her love life is emblematic of a broader cultural fascination with celebrity relationships. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, tabloids thrived on sensational headlines. For Sarandon, this meant constant speculation about her personal relationships. Every public appearance, co-star interaction, and personal decision was fodder for the gossip mills. This relentless attention created an atmosphere where maintaining privacy was nearly impossible. One of the most notable aspects of this pressure cooker environment is the persistence of rumors, even in the absence of concrete evidence. The media often clings to the slightest hint of scandal, perpetuating stories that may have little basis in reality. For instance, her interactions with younger co-stars and business partners were regularly blown out of proportion. Hollywood's culture of gossip is also fueled by the industry's competitive nature. Publicists, agents, and even peers sometimes contribute to the rumor mill, either intentionally or inadvertently. For Sarandon, who has always been candid about her views on love and relationships, this environment was particularly challenging. Her openness often led to misinterpretations and exaggerated stories. In a 2006 interview with Vanity Fair, she commented on the constant speculation, saying, "People love a good story, and sometimes the truth isn't as interesting. I've learned to take it with a grain of salt." The pressure cooker environment of Hollywood also impacts the relationships themselves. The intense scrutiny constrain even the strongest partnerships. For Sarandon and Robbins, maintaining a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos was crucial. They often shielded their children from the public eye and focused on their shared values and interests. Post-separation, the gossip machine didn't slow down. Her association with Jonathan Bricklin and other younger men continued to spark rumors. Each new project or public appearance was analyzed for potential romantic undertones, perpetuating the cycle of speculation. The turning point. Susan speaks out. In 2014, Susan Sarandon reached a breaking point with the constant speculation about her personal life. Tired of the relentless rumors, she decided to address the gossip head-on. This marked a significant turning point in how she interacted with the media and the public regarding her relationships. The opportunity came during an interview with the Daily Beast. Known for her candidness, she used this platform to set the record straight about her relationship with Jonathan Bricklin. In a straightforward manner, she stated, "I don't think there's anything odd about our relationship. I think we're in each other's lives for the right reasons." This statement was one of the few times she directly addressed the rumors. This interview was a bold move. For years, Sarandon had avoided giving direct answers about her personal life, preferring to keep her private affairs out of the spotlight. By breaking her silence, she took control of the narrative. The media's response was a mixture of surprise and curiosity, with many outlets running stories that quoted her interview. Following this, she continued to speak openly about her views on relationships in various interviews. In a 2015 appearance on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, she elaborated on her relationship philosophy, emphasizing the importance of personal growth and the fluidity of relationships. She remarked, "I think you can have a relationship with somebody that changes over time, and you have to be open to that." Another significant moment came in a 2016 interview with AARP, where she discussed her breakup with Tim Robbins and her relationship with Bricklin. She reflected on her journey, saying, "Relationships evolve, and I think it's important to allow yourself the space to grow. Sometimes that means moving in different directions." Her reflections provided a more nuanced understanding of her personal life, countering the simplistic and often sensational narratives previously presented. Despite her efforts, the media's fascination with her love life persisted. However, by speaking out, she managed to humanize herself in the eyes of the public. Her candidness and introspection resonated with many, shifting the focus from scandalous rumors to genuine personal growth and self-awareness. Her decision to address the rumors head-on was a strategic move. It allowed her to reclaim her narrative and present her side of the story. This approach not only mitigated some of the negative press, but also garnered respect from fans and media alike for her honesty and strength. In the years following her decision to speak out, she continued to be a prominent figure in Hollywood, balancing her career with her personal life. Her openness about her relationships and the challenges of maintaining them under public scrutiny provided a fresh perspective on the often one-dimensional portrayal of celebrities in the media. Public reaction and media coverage. Following her 2014 interview with the Daily Beast, social media buzzed with discussions about Susan Sarandon's comments. Fans and critics alike took to Twitter and Facebook, praising her honesty and control over the narrative. One fan tweeted, "Susan Sarandon is a class act, speaking her truth with grace and dignity." Mainstream media quickly picked up the story. Major outlets like People, Entertainment Weekly, and Vanity Fair ran articles quoting her statements. Some praised her forthrightness, while others continued to speculate about her relationships despite her clarifications. Entertainment Weekly ran a piece titled, "Susan Sarandon Sets the Record Straight," highlighting her comments and providing context about her relationships with Tim Robbins and Jonathan Bricklin. People magazine focused on her views on relationships and personal growth, painting a picture of a strong, independent woman navigating love and fame. Vanity Fair explored the broader implications of her statements, suggesting that her candidness could influence other celebrities to be more transparent. Despite the generally positive coverage, some outlets continued to speculate. Tabloids like the National Enquirer and Star magazine ran stories filled with conjecture, often ignoring Sarandon's statements and focusing on sensational headlines. These articles perpetuated old rumors and introduced new ones, demonstrating the persistent nature of celebrity gossip. Public reaction to these tabloid stories was mixed. While some readers enjoyed the scandalous nature of the articles, others criticized the publications for their lack of respect and disregard for Sarandon's own words. The ongoing speculation underscored the challenges celebrities face in controlling their narratives. Amidst the media frenzy, Sarandon's fans remained supportive. Online forums and fan sites buzzed with discussions about her bravery and authenticity. Many shared personal anecdotes about how her films and public persona had impacted their lives. This outpouring of support reinforced her status as a beloved figure in Hollywood. In subsequent public appearances, she continued to handle questions about her personal life with poise. During a 2015 interview on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, she reiterated her views on relationships, further endearing herself to audiences. Ellen praised her for being open and honest, a sentiment echoed by many viewers. Susan's perspective on love and relationships. She has always been candid about her personal views on love and relationships, challenging traditional Hollywood norms with her refreshing and unconventional perspective. She emphasizes the importance of personal growth and the fluid nature of relationships. In a 2016 interview with AARP, she stated, "I believe that relationships should be about mutual growth. People evolve, and sometimes they evolve together, sometimes apart," reflecting her understanding that relationships are dynamic and can change over time. Sarandon often speaks about the importance of maintaining independence within a relationship. In a 2014 interview with The Daily Beast, she said, "Being with someone doesn't mean losing yourself. It's about supporting each other's growth and finding a balance," encapsulating her approach to individuality within partnerships. Her relationship with Tim Robbins, which lasted over 2 decades, exemplifies her commitment to these principles. Despite their separation, both have spoken positively about their time together and their decision to part ways. In a 2010 interview with The Telegraph, she reflected, "We had a great run. Sometimes the best way to honor a relationship is to recognize when it's time to move on." Her views on non-traditional relationships extend to her later years. Her involvement with Jonathan Bricklin, a significantly younger man, challenged societal norms and sparked debate. Sarandon remained unapologetic, highlighting the importance of connection over societal expectations. Sarandon's openness about her relationships includes discussing their challenges and misunderstandings. In a 2017 interview with Vogue, she remarked, "Relationships are complex. They're not always easy, but they're an essential part of our growth. The key is to stay true to yourself and communicate openly." Susan has learned that love is not just about the fairy tale romance, but about the quiet, steadfast moments of support and compassion. She realizes that relationships are a delicate balance of giving and receiving, requiring patience, trust, and a willingness to grow together. She was a 2-time Academy Award-winning actress, yet she turned her back on Hollywood. She entered politics but never played by the rules. Glenda Jackson is a figure of stark contrasts, public acclaim and private mystery, power and retreat. What made this icon walk away from everything she knew? The answers are buried deep in her past, and today, we're going to unearth them. Glenda Jackson's early life and family background. Glenda Jackson was born on May 9, 1936, in Birkenhead, a town in Cheshire, England. Her father, Harry Jackson, worked as a bricklayer, and her mother, Joanne, was a cleaner. The Jackson family lived a modest life, typical of the working-class environment that dominated the area during the 1930s and 1940s. The post-war years were particularly tough, with rationing still in effect, and the economic strain on families like hers was evident. As a child, the future star attended the local West Kirby Grammar School for Girls, where she showed an early interest in literature and performance. Despite the financial constraints of her family, there was a strong emphasis on education. The war had taken its toll on many families, and the belief in education as a means to a better life was deeply ingrained. A turning point came when, at age 16, she left school to work at Boots, the chemist. This job was not fulfilling, and she soon found herself seeking something more. In a twist of fate, she joined a local amateur dramatics group, which ignited a passion that would change the course of her life. The experience of performing on stage was transformative, leading to an audition for the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, in London. Accepted into RADA in 1954, the young actress left behind the industrial landscape of Birkenhead for the bustling, opportunity-filled streets of London. The years spent at RADA were formative. Training under the guidance of industry professionals provided not only the skills, but also the confidence needed to navigate the competitive world of acting. It was during these early years in London that she began to craft her identity, both as a performer and as a person. The transition from a working-class background to the arts was challenging, but it was also the foundation for the fierce independence and resilience that would define her career. the shift to acting and the start of a promising career. In the late 1950s, after completing her training at RADA, she began to gain recognition in the London theatre scene. The Royal Shakespeare Company, RSC, became a pivotal part of her early career. Her performances in classical roles were marked by a raw intensity and emotional depth that quickly set her apart from her peers. The first significant breakthrough came with her portrayal of Charlotte Corday in Peter Brook's 1964 production of Marat Sade. This role not only showcased her ability to embody complex characters, but also brought her to the attention of both critics and the broader public. The success of Marat Sade led to a film adaptation in 1967, further expanding her influence. By the mid-1960s, she was already making a name in both theater and film. In 1965, she starred in the film The Sporting Life, where she delivered a performance that was both critically acclaimed and commercially successful. This film marked the beginning of a transition from stage to screen, a shift that would define the next decade of her career. In 1967, she appeared in the film The Sailor from Gibraltar, directed by Tony Richardson. Though the film itself did not achieve widespread acclaim, her performance was noted for its intensity and depth, qualities that would become her trademarks. These early roles laid the groundwork for what would become a highly successful film career. With each performance, she continued to build a reputation as one of the most talented and versatile actresses of her generation. The stage was set for a meteoric rise, one that would soon see her achieve international fame, the rise to stardom and Oscar wins. The year 1969 marked a turning point. Her role as Gudrun Brangwyn in Ken Russell's film Women in Love catapulted her to international stardom. This film, based on D.H. Lawrence's novel, was controversial for its explicit content, but it was also a critical success. Her portrayal of Gudrun was lauded for its complexity and emotional depth, earning her the Academy Award for Best Actress in 1971. This win solidified her position as a leading actress in Hollywood and opened the door to a series of high-profile roles. In 1973, she won a second Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in A Touch of Class. This romantic comedy, directed by Melvin Frank, showcased her ability to shift seamlessly between drama and comedy, further cementing her reputation as a versatile performer. During this period, she also appeared in films such as Sunday Bloody Sunday, 1971, and Mary Queen of Scots, 1971, both of which were critically acclaimed. Her performance in Sunday Bloody Sunday earned her a second Oscar nomination, while Mary Queen of Scots showcased her ability to portray historical figures with nuance and depth. The 1970s were a decade of continued success. In 1975, she starred in the film Hedda, based on Henrik Ibsen's play Hedda Gabler. Her portrayal of the troubled and complex character of Hedda Gabler earned her a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actress. Although she did not win, the nomination further reinforced her status as one of the leading actresses of her generation. By the end of the 1970s, she had established herself as a dominant force in both the British and American film industries. Her ability to take on diverse and challenging roles, combined with her unwavering commitment to her craft, made her one of the most respected actresses of her time. Glenda Jackson's mysterious sabbatical from acting. In the late 1980s, at the height of her career, something unexpected happened. She began to withdraw from the acting world. This retreat from the spotlight was surprising, given the immense success and acclaim she had achieved. By 1992, she had virtually disappeared from the public eye as an actress, sparking curiosity and speculation. There were various theories about why she stepped back. Some suggested burnout, while others speculated that she had grown disillusioned with the industry. The truth was more complex. In interviews from this period, she hinted at a desire for change, a need to find something more meaningful than the world of acting could offer. During this time, she rarely appeared in public and took on very few acting roles. In 1988, she starred in the film Business as Usual, a British drama that received limited attention. This film would be one of her last major roles before her hiatus. Her withdrawal from acting coincided with a growing interest in social and political issues. The late 1980s and early 1990s were marked by significant political and social change in the UK, and she became increasingly vocal about her views. In a 1991 interview, she mentioned, "There's more to life than acting." This statement, while brief, hinted at the internal struggle she was facing, one that would soon lead to a dramatic shift in her career. Entering the political arena. In 1992, the world was stunned when the acclaimed actress announced her candidacy for the UK Parliament. She ran as the Labour Party candidate for Hampstead and Highgate, a constituency in North London. This move marked a radical departure from her previous life in the arts. Her decision to enter politics was motivated by a deep sense of social responsibility. She had long been critical of the Conservative government under Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, particularly regarding issues like housing and social welfare. Her campaign focused on these issues, resonating with many in her constituency who were frustrated by the government's policies. The election was hard-fought, but she emerged victorious, winning her seat in the House of Commons. This victory marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one that would see her transition from screen icon to political advocate. Her early years in Parliament were marked by a steep learning curve. Politics was a different kind of stage, with its own rules and challenges. She quickly established herself as a fierce and outspoken MP, unafraid to speak her mind on contentious issues. One of her early speeches in Parliament criticized the government's handling of the National Health Service, earning her respect among her peers. Throughout her political career, she continued to focus on issues related to housing, women's rights, and social justice. Her background as an actress often brought a unique perspective to her political work, but she remained focused on the issues that mattered most to her constituents. Political career and public perception. As a member of Parliament, Glenda Jackson quickly became known for her unwavering commitment to her principles. Her political career spanned 23 years, from 1992 to 2015, during which time she was involved in numerous debates and initiatives. Jackson was a strong critic of the Conservative government, particularly under John Major and later Tony Blair's Labour government, when she was critical of policies that she felt betrayed traditional Labour values. One of her most notable political moments came in 2003, when she voted against the Iraq War, standing firmly against the Labour leadership. Jackson believed the war was unjustified, a stance that resonated with many of her constituents and the broader public. Her opposition to the war reflected her broader skepticism of government policies that she viewed as serving elite interests rather than the common good. In addition to her stance on the Iraq War, she was also a vocal advocate for social housing. As an MP for Hampstead and Highgate, a constituency that included areas of significant economic disparity, she championed affordable housing and fought against gentrification that displaced long-standing communities. Her work on housing was a continuation of her lifelong commitment to social justice, an issue she had spoken passionately about even before entering politics. Despite her dedication to her political work, she faced criticism from some quarters for her outspoken nature and refusal to conform to the expectations of a typical politician. Her background as an actress occasionally led to dismissive remarks from political opponents, but she remained unfazed, often using her platform to highlight the very issues that were being ignored by the political establishment. Jackson's time in Parliament also saw her taking on the role of Minister for Transport from 1997 to 1999 under Tony Blair's government. In this position, she was responsible for overseeing public transport policies, where she pushed for greater investment in public infrastructure. However, her tenure as minister was not without controversy, as she clashed with other members of the government over policy directions. Throughout her political career, Jackson remained true to her convictions, earning respect from her colleagues and constituents alike. Her transition from actress to politician was not without challenges, but it underscored her determination to make a tangible difference in society. Returned to acting after politics. After retiring from Parliament in 2015, Glenda Jackson made a surprising and highly anticipated return to the stage. Her first major role after this hiatus was in the title role of King Lear, directed by Deborah Warner. The production, which premiered at the Old Vic in 2016, was a resounding success, with Jackson's portrayal of Lear receiving widespread acclaim from critics and audiences alike. Playing Lear was a bold choice, given that it is traditionally a male role and one of the most challenging in the Shakespearean canon. However, Jackson's performance was described as riveting and fearless, demonstrating that her time away from the stage had not diminished her acting prowess. The role of Lear allowed her to explore complex themes of power, madness, and human frailty, and it was seen as a triumphant return to the art form that had first made her famous. In 2018, she continued her comeback with another acclaimed performance, this time in the Broadway production of Three Tall Women by Edward Albee. Her role as an elderly woman reflecting on her life, won her a Tony Award for Best Actress in a Play. The recognition was a testament to her enduring talent and her ability to captivate audiences even after a long absence from the stage. These performances marked a new phase in her acting career, one that was characterized by a return to her theatrical roots. While her earlier career had been dominated by film, this period saw her focusing primarily on stage work, where her powerful presence and command of language could be fully appreciated. The mystery of Glenda Jackson's private life. Throughout her career, both in acting and politics, Glenda Jackson was known for maintaining a strict separation between her public and private lives. Unlike many of her contemporaries, she rarely spoke about her personal life in interviews, and little was known about her family or relationships. Jackson married Roy Hodges, a stage manager, in 1958, but the marriage ended in divorce in 1976. The couple had one son, Dan Hodges, who went on to become a political commentator. Beyond this, details about her personal life were scarce, as she deliberately kept her private affairs out of the public eye. Her decision to live a private life was in stark contrast to the public nature of her careers. Despite being a well-known public figure, she never courted the media or sought attention outside of her professional work. This reticence contributed to the air of mystery that surrounded her, making her an enigmatic figure in both the arts and politics. Her private nature extended to her time in Parliament, where she was known for being reserved and focused on her work. Colleagues often remarked on her intense dedication to her duties and her lack of interest in the social aspects of political life. This focus on her work, combined with her refusal to engage in the more frivolous aspects of celebrity culture, only added to the intrigue that surrounded her. In the rare interviews where she did discuss her personal life, Jackson often emphasized her belief in the importance of privacy. She once remarked, "The work is what matters. Everything else is just noise." This philosophy guided her throughout her life, allowing her to maintain control over her public image and avoid the pitfalls that often accompany fame. Jackson's commitment to privacy meant that much of her personal life remained a mystery to the public. However, this mystery only deepened the fascination with her as a figure who defied easy categorization, living her life on her own terms. The return to politics. In a surprising development during the late 1990s, Glenda Jackson found herself increasingly drawn back into the political arena after stepping down as Minister for Transport in 1999. Dissatisfied with the direction the Labour Party was taking under Tony Blair, she became more vocal in her criticisms, particularly concerning the party's shift towards centrist policies. Jackson was particularly outspoken on issues like housing and social welfare, where she felt the party was abandoning its traditional working-class base. During this period, she was approached by various grassroots organizations and political figures who urged her to take a more active role in challenging the party's leadership. While she ultimately decided against a formal leadership bid, Jackson's involvement in these discussions highlighted her ongoing commitment to the political causes she believed in. Her influence within the party remained significant, and she continued to shape policy debates, especially those related to the welfare state and social justice. In addition to her involvement in national politics, Jackson also became deeply engaged in local community activism within her constituency. She frequently attended meetings, rallies, and events where she directly addressed the concerns of her constituents. One notable example was her passionate involvement in the campaign against the proposed closure of a local hospital in Hampstead. Jackson's hands-on approach and willingness to confront government authorities on behalf of her constituents demonstrated her deep commitment to public service. Her return to these grassroots activities reinforced her connection to the local community and solidified her reputation as a politician who prioritized the needs of the people over party politics. Political exit and immediate aftermath. In 2015, Glenda Jackson announced her decision to retire from politics, bringing an end to her 23-year tenure as a Member of Parliament for Hampstead and Kilburn. The announcement was made in January 2015, just a few months before the general election. In her statement, Jackson cited a desire to return to her first love, acting, as the primary reason for her departure from politics. This decision was met with a mix of surprise and understanding, both from her constituents and fellow MPs, many of whom had come to respect her for her principled stands and dedication to public service. Her final months in Parliament were marked by a series of key votes and speeches, reflecting the issues she had long championed. In March 2015, Jackson made one of her last major speeches in the House of Commons, passionately advocating for the protection of social housing, a cause she had tirelessly supported throughout her political career. Her speech was noted for its sharp criticism of the government's housing policies, which she argued were exacerbating inequality and pushing working-class families out of their communities. Jackson's final vote in Parliament came in late April 2015, when she cast her ballot against a controversial welfare reform bill. This vote was consistent with her long-standing opposition to policies that she believed disproportionately harmed the most vulnerable in society. Her decision to vote against the bill was a final act of defiance against what she saw as the erosion of the welfare state, a cornerstone of the Labour Party's traditional platform. As she prepared to step down, Jackson made a brief but poignant farewell speech in Parliament, thanking her colleagues and constituents for their support over the years. In her remarks, she expressed her hope that the issues she had fought for, particularly housing and social justice, would continue to be addressed by the next generation of politicians. Her farewell was met with a standing ovation from both sides of the House, a rare display of cross-party respect for a politician known for her fierce independence. Following her retirement from Parliament, Jackson wasted no time in returning to the world of acting. Within months, she had signed on to star in a major theatrical production, signaling her readiness to close the chapter on her political life and re-embrace her identity as an actress. The transition was swift, leaving little time for reflection or public commentary on her political career. She was Hollywood's perfect leading lady, but Merna Loy's life was anything but perfect. From being typecast in exotic roles to enduring personal tragedies and failed marriages, Merna's journey is a poignant tale of resilience and heartbreak. Discover the real Merna Loy, the woman who faced personal loss, turbulent relationships, and the harsh realities of Hollywood with unyielding strength and courage. Humble start and rise to fame. Born on August 2, 1905 in Radersburg, Montana, her real name is Merna Adele Williams. Her father, David Franklin Williams, was a cattle rancher and the youngest man ever elected to the Montana State Legislature. Her mother, Della Mae, was a talented musician. The family moved to Helena, Montana, when David was elected to the state legislature. Following his death in 1918 during the Spanish flu pandemic, Della moved the family to Culver City, California. In Culver City, Merna attended Venice High School. She developed an interest in acting and joined the school's drama program. Her striking looks and talent caught the attention of Rudolph Valentino, who suggested she try acting. In 1925, Merna Williams was discovered by photographer Henry Waxman, who introduced her to Rudolph Valentino and his wife, Natasha Rambova. She made her screen debut as a dancer in the film Pretty Ladies, 1925, and adopted the stage name Merna Loy. Her early career consisted of minor roles in silent films, often cast as a vamp or exotic beauty. One notable role was in What Price Beauty, 1925, where she portrayed a femme fatale. This film showcased her beauty and talent, helping to secure more roles. Loy's breakout role came in 1934 with the film The Thin Man. Cast as Nora Charles opposite William Powell's Nick Charles, her chemistry with Powell was undeniable. The film was a huge success, leading to 5 sequels. She once said, "I never enjoyed my work more than when I worked with Bill Powell. He was a delightful, wonderful man and a great actor." By the mid-1930s, Merna Loy was a top box office draw. In 1937 and 1938, she was voted the Queen of the Movies by exhibitors, sharing the honor with Clark Gable, who was named King of the Movies. Her popularity continued to soar with films like Libeled Lady, 1936, and Double Wedding, 1937. Despite her success, she needed help with being typecast. She often played the sophisticated, witty wife or the perfect housewife, which limited her range. In a 1974 interview, she reflected, "I was getting awfully tired of playing the same part over and over again. I knew I could do more." Typecasting as the exotic woman. In the late 1920s and early 1930s, Hollywood's fascination with exoticism heavily influenced Merna Loy's career. Her striking features led to her being frequently cast in roles that perpetuated ethnic stereotypes. Early on, she appeared in a series of silent films that exploited her exotic look, a term often used to describe her almond-shaped eyes and high cheekbones. One of her earliest roles was in Across the Pacific, 1926, where she played an island girl. Loy reflected on this period in a 1981 interview, saying, "I was cast as an exotic and always felt that was ridiculous. I was just a nice, homely girl from Montana." She continued to play similar roles in films like The Crimson City, 1928, and The Black Watch, 1929, where she often portrayed characters of Asian or Middle Eastern descent. In The Desert Song, 1929, she played Azuri, a Middle Eastern dancer. Despite the film's success, these roles reinforced the stereotype that she could only play exotic characters. Critics and audiences alike began to associate her with these types of roles, limiting her opportunities to showcase her versatility as an actress. Loy's frustration grew as she felt confined by these roles. She worked tirelessly to break free from typecasting, determined to prove her acting prowess extended beyond exotic portrayals. Her big break came with The Thin Man, 1934, where she played Nora Charles, a witty, sophisticated, and thoroughly American character. This role marked a turning point in her career, but the shadow of her early typecasting lingered. MGM, the studio that signed her in 1932, played a significant role in her career transformation. Irving Thalberg, MGM's head of production, recognized her talent and began casting her in more diverse roles. Despite this shift, Loy still faced typecasting pressures. In her autobiography, Being and Becoming, she wrote, "I fought against that stereotype for years. I wanted to be known for my talent, not for the color of my skin or the shape of my eyes." Her persistence eventually paid off, leading to more varied roles in films like Manhattan Melodrama, 1934, and Petticoat Fever, 1936. Despite breaking away from the exotic stereotype, the experience left a lasting impact on her: the shadow of personal loss. While Merna Loy's professional life soared, her personal life was marred by profound losses that shaped her resilience and strength. The first significant blow came in 1918 when her father, David Franklin Williams, died during the Spanish flu pandemic. This loss deeply affected Loy and her family, prompting their move from Montana to California in search of a fresh start. In Hollywood, Loy's career blossomed, but personal tragedy struck again. Her close friendship with Jean Harlow, a fellow actress and MGM colleague, ended abruptly with Harlow's untimely death in 1937. Harlow died of kidney failure at the age of 26, a shock to Loy and the Hollywood community. The loss of Harlow profoundly impacted Loy, who often reflected on the fleeting nature of life and success in Hollywood. This awareness of mortality was a recurring theme in her personal and professional decisions. Her ability to channel her grief into her work demonstrated her strength and dedication to her craft. Her romantic relationships were also marked by disappointment and heartache. Amidst being celebrated as the only good girl in Hollywood, she had a private life that often contrasted with her public image. Despite her professional demeanor, Loy's personal relationships were complex and filled with scandal. In 1932, she began dating Arthur Hornblow Jr., a married film producer. Their affair was not a well-kept secret, and Loy eventually married Hornblow, casting a shadow over her reputation. Even after their marriage, she reportedly had numerous affairs with her co-stars, most notably Spencer Tracy. Her first marriage to Arthur Hornblow Jr., a producer, ended in divorce in 1942 after 7 years. The couple had no children, and the divorce left her feeling a deep sense of loss. Reflecting on her marriage, she admitted, "We were both too involved in our careers to make it work." In 1946, Loy married John Hertz Jr., the heir to the Hertz car rental company. However, this marriage also ended in divorce after 4 years, leaving her once again grappling with personal failure. She later described her second marriage as a mistake from the beginning. Her third marriage to screenwriter Gene Markey in 1946 was equally tumultuous. The couple divorced in 1950, with Loy citing Markey's infidelity as a major reason for the split. Her final marriage to Howland H. Sargent, an international broadcasting executive in 1951, ended in divorce in 1960. Loy's repeated marital failures and inability to have children contributed to her feelings of loneliness and loss. Hollywood's dark side. Her career took place during Hollywood's golden age, a time known for its glamour, but also its darker side. She, like many others, had to deal with an industry full of exploitation, manipulation, and ethical challenges. In the early stages of her career, Loy encountered the harsh realities of Hollywood's studio system. Studios held immense power over actors, often dictating their professional and personal lives. She was signed by MGM in 1932, one of the most powerful studios at the time. Irving Thalberg, MGM's head of production, recognized her potential and began casting her in more diverse roles. However, even under Thalberg's guidance, Loy faced significant challenges. Studio contracts were notoriously restrictive. Actors had little control over the roles they were given and were often loaned out to other studios without their consent. Loy was no exception. She was cast in numerous films each year, leaving little room for negotiation or personal preference. In a 1981 interview, she revealed, "You were told what to do, where to be, and how to look. There was no room for personal input." Sexual harassment was another pervasive issue in Hollywood. Loy, known for her beauty and charm, faced unwanted advances from powerful men in the industry. In her autobiography, Being and Becoming, she recounted several incidents where she had to fend off inappropriate behavior. She described Hollywood as a place where young women were often preyed upon by those in power. Loy's struggle extended to fighting for equal pay. Despite her status as a top box office draw, she often earned less than her male co-stars. She was vocal about this disparity, challenging the studio executives to pay her what she deserved. Her advocacy for fair compensation was part of a broader struggle for gender equality in Hollywood. The pressures of maintaining a public image added another layer of difficulty. Studios controlled every aspect of an actor's persona, from their appearance to their personal life. Loy's marriages and personal relationships were scrutinized and manipulated to fit the studio's narrative. She once remarked, "You weren't just an actor, you were a product." At the height of her fame, Loy's insecurities about her appearance led her to consider plastic surgery. A producer suggested she get her ears fixed, prompting her to arrange a consultation under a false name. However, when she arrived, the surgeon recognized her immediately and took extensive photographs of her, focusing on her nose, a feature highly desired in plastic surgery at the time. The experience left her feeling exposed and uncomfortable, and she ultimately decided against the surgery. Loy's activism also put her at odds with Hollywood's power brokers. During World War II, she was an outspoken advocate for the war effort, which was well received. However, her civil rights involvement and criticism of the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, in the 1940s and 1950s, garnered negative attention. She was a staunch opponent of the blacklist and spoke out against the witch hunts that targeted Hollywood professionals accused of communist sympathies. Despite these challenges, Loy remained resilient. She continued to deliver stellar performances and maintain her integrity. Her ability to navigate Hollywood's dark side while advocating for change set her apart. Activism and courage. Her courage extended beyond her roles on screen. She was also a passionate activist who used her platform to advocate for various causes. Her dedication to social issues often put her at odds with the Hollywood establishment, yet she remained unwavering in her commitment to justice and equality. During World War II, Loy was deeply involved in the war effort. She joined the American Red Cross and the United Service Organizations, USO, tirelessly working to support American troops. She traveled extensively, performing for soldiers and helping to raise funds for the war effort. She once said, "I felt it was my duty to do whatever I could to help our boys overseas." Loy's activism continued after the war, particularly in civil rights. She was an early and vocal supporter of the civil rights movement, advocating for racial equality long before it became a mainstream issue in Hollywood. Her stance was bold at a time when the industry was predominantly silent or indifferent about such matters. She was a member of the National Committee Against Discrimination in Housing and worked alongside prominent figures such as Eleanor Roosevelt. In addition to her civil rights work, Loy was an outspoken critic of the House Un-American Activities Committee, HUAC, and the Hollywood blacklist. The HUAC investigations of the 1940s and 1950s targeted individuals in the entertainment industry accused of having communist ties. She viewed the blacklist as a grave injustice, publicly condemning the witch hunts. In a 1974 interview, she stated, "It was a terrible time, full of fear and suspicion. Many innocent people's lives were ruined." Loy's activism also included advocating for women's rights. She supported various women's organizations and used her influence to highlight issues such as gender equality and reproductive rights. Her commitment to these causes was reflected in her personal and professional life. Despite facing industry pressures to conform, she remained true to her principles. Her dedication to activism did not go unnoticed. Loy received several awards and honors for her contributions to social justice. In 1988, she was honored with the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award, which recognized her humanitarian efforts. This award was a testament to her lifelong commitment to making a positive impact beyond the silver screen. Loy's courage in speaking out against injustices often came at a personal cost. Her outspoken nature sometimes resulted in lost opportunities and strained relationships within the industry. However, she remained steadfast, believing that her principles were more important than her career. "I couldn't just stand by and do nothing," she once remarked. "If I saw something wrong, I had to speak out." A heart-wrenching decision. In the early 1930s, Merna Loy faced one of the most challenging and private ordeals of her life. At the height of her career, she discovered she was pregnant. The timing was particularly difficult. Her career was soaring, and the pressures of Hollywood made it nearly impossible for a leading actress to balance a high-profile career with motherhood. Given the era's social and professional expectations, Loy decided to have an abortion. At the time, abortion was not only socially controversial, but also illegal in many places, forcing women to seek unsafe procedures. For her, this decision was not made lightly. It was a heart-wrenching choice influenced by her professional commitments and the societal norms of the time. Her procedure was performed clandestinely, as was common in those days due to legal and societal constraints. Unfortunately, the procedure was botched. The substandard medical care led to severe complications, resulting in Loy becoming infertile. The impact of this botched abortion was profound, both physically and emotionally. The aftermath of the procedure left her devastated. She never had children, a loss that she felt deeply throughout her life. In her autobiography, Being and Becoming, published in 1987, she briefly touched upon this painful chapter of her life, revealing the depth of her sorrow and regret. Loy wrote, It was a decision I made in a moment of fear and uncertainty, and it cost me dearly. I lived with that pain every day. The emotional toll of the botched abortion was significant. Loy carried the private burden of her infertility silently, seldom discussing it publicly. This experience shaped her relationships and influenced her personal life profoundly. Her marriages were affected by her inability to have children, adding strain and sorrow to her romantic relationships. In a 1974 interview, Loy hinted at the personal struggles she faced, saying, "I've had my share of regrets and heartaches, just like anyone else." While she did not explicitly mention the abortion, her words reflected the ongoing pain and regret she carried. The societal stigma and personal grief combined to make this one of the most challenging aspects of her life. Loy's choice and its tragic outcome underscore the harsh realities many women faced during that time. The lack of safe and legal options for abortion often led to dangerous procedures with life-altering consequences. Aging in Hollywood. As Merna Loy grew older, she faced the harsh reality of aging in an industry that prized youth and beauty. Hollywood's obsession with youthful looks made it challenging for aging actresses to find substantial roles, and Loy was no exception. In the 1940s and 1950s, as new stars emerged and audience preferences shifted, Loy found it increasingly difficult to secure leading roles. She transitioned to supporting roles, where her talent could still shine. One notable performance during this period was in The Best Years of Our Lives, 1946, where she played the supportive wife of a returning war veteran. The film was a critical and commercial success, earning 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Her performance was praised, but it was clear that her days as a leading lady were dwindling. The rise of television in the 1950s offered new opportunities for Loy. She appeared in several TV productions, which allowed her to continue working and stay relevant in the entertainment industry. However, the transition from film to television was not always smooth. The smaller screen and lower budgets often meant less glamorous roles and fewer opportunities to showcase her star power. Loy's experience reflected a broader trend in Hollywood, where many actresses struggled with the industry's ageism. Despite her talent and experience, she faced the same biases that many of her peers did. In a 1981 interview, she candidly spoke about the industry's attitude towards aging actresses. "They put you on a shelf once you reach a certain age. It's like they forget everything you've done before." Financial necessity also played a role in Loy's continued work. Despite her success, she faced financial difficulties due to failed investments and costly divorces. These challenges forced her to keep working into her later years, sometimes accepting roles that did not do justice to her talent. Despite these obstacles, she remained active and committed to her craft. She appeared in several stage productions, including a Broadway revival of Barefoot in the Park in 1963. Her performance was well received, proving that her talent and charisma had not diminished with age. In her later years, Loy also became an author, publishing her autobiography, Being and Becoming, in 1987. The book provided a candid look at her life and career, offering insights into the challenges she faced as an aging actress in Hollywood. It was well received by both critics and fans, further cementing her legacy as a Hollywood icon. Her perseverance and adaptability were key to her longevity in the entertainment industry. She continued to work well into her 70s, with her final film role in Just Tell Me What You Want, 1980. Her ability to navigate the industry's changing landscape while maintaining her dignity and professionalism was a testament to her resilience.